Excellencies, kindly, with your permission, allow me to formally start this program. As I mentioned, we are live online, and we only want to take more time. This is a session on youth and entrepreneurship at tent, the main plenary tent. We have the education skills development at Breakout Tent 1, and that on sports performing arts and the creative economy at Breakout Tent 2. So now we are ready to begin the session on youth, entrepreneurship, and innovation, ably moderated by Danish. And you also live. Over to you, sir, to proceed. Apologies.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for Cliff Ontario for the fantastic job he's doing. Makofi tafadhali for Cliff for the fantastic work he's doing. My name is Danish Odongo. Others call me the son of Kano. I'm a journalist by profession. I'll be moderating this session. It's great to see you, Governor Evans. Good to see you. Yeah. Anyway, I'm joined by a very, very able panelist. And starting from my left here is Mr. Frederick Parap. Frederick, you can tell us your name. And then we go to Claire, then Alphonse, then eventually to the very extreme left.
Thank you, Danish. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Frederick Oyugi. I'm a project management specialist with expertise in designing, implementing, and monitoring high-impact development programs. My work involves stakeholder engagement, resource mobilization, and environmental compliance. Over to you, Claire.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for Mr. Frederick Tafadhalini. Claire.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
My name is Claire Ongati. Currently, I serve as a board member, Mentami Global Program. In Mentami, what we do, we work with the young, with the youths. We mentor them through leadership, agriculture, and sexual reproductive health. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Makofi, a round of applause for Claire Tafadhalini. All right, Alphonse.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Alphonse.
So my name is Alphonse Juma. I'm the CEO and founder Oracom Group, where we run 14 companies in one. And what we do is digital. We help companies go online and become digitally fit.
All right. And finally, to the very extreme left, introduce yourself.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Beverly Shitandi. I work with GIZ Kenya for a project called Agri-Jobs for Youth. I'm the private sector partnerships or development advisor. The project focuses on promoting youth employment in the agri-food sector here in Western Kenya, and it's implemented by GIZ, funded by the Ministry of the German Economic Development. Thank you.
A huge organization. You employ about 40 people permanently, and over 100, and many people actually benefit from the work that you do. Maybe from the we come from, entrepreneurship is not something that is mainstreamed. How did you get into entrepreneurship, and how do we help to change mindsets around the opportunities that entrepreneurship can actually offer to solve the economic challenges of this region?
Yeah, I think starting from the region where I come from is Siaya County.
Okay.
To be particular is Rarieda. Yeah, and growing in there, I started by doing farming. But when I realized the impact of technology, I decided to go into technology. Currently, as we speak, I'm 15 years running Oracom Group, where, like I said, we are running 14 companies in one. And what I did as a youth, which I think can also be a big thing for the youth, is I realized a problem which existed. Of course, right now we have so many people who go online and they use digital assets in the wrong way. And what I decided to do is to create opportunities for the youth. And what we've done there is I looked at it in terms of businesses. So I brought together businesses. And then I looked at it also in terms of individuals or experts. I brought together experts or CEOs. Then I looked at it in terms of consultants as well. So all this I saw as a way in which if you create the right channels, especially in technology, because again, technology is so big and it opens up limitless and like borderless opportunities for everybody. And when I considered all this, I felt then this can create a bigger impact for the youth. And something we've done, especially on e-commerce, which through our platform called My Big Order, is created marketplaces for each of the individual markets. Like you realize in every county in Kenya, they have still sub-counties. So we decided to create individual marketplaces for those. And that has really made it very interesting.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alphonse. You're doing a fantastic job. And of course, I need to mention here that you are actually mentioned as a young entrepreneur by the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, by Wood Lego, former President Barack Obama. Fantastic job. But before I come back to you, I'd like to go to Ms. Beverly Shitandi. Ms. Beverly Shitandi, you're doing a very fantastic job with the private sector in terms of developing just agribusiness in this region. Perhaps just in less than 2 minutes, you can give us a highlight of some of those key things you guys have done, but above all that, what you've learned as the opportunities in agribusiness for young people from this region.
Thank you very much for that question.
Yeah.
So as a project, we have targeted support for entrepreneurs. We have structured support for the startups, for the enterprises that are at the growth level, and the ones that are at an advanced level. So we have customized support for them. We provide mentorship programs. We also provide coaching programs and BDS programs for them. We also support them in business pitching, and we support them as well in capital raising and investor readiness. We do this through enterprise support organizations. So we have a network of rural incubators and accelerators who support these entrepreneurs. And you realize the lesson that we have learned, that's the question you have asked. One of the lessons we have learned is youth are really upcoming in terms of ideas and innovations, but they do not have the necessary support to grow to the next level. So our strategy is to work with the enterprise support organizations to help them develop past the idea stage, go through the growth stage, and help them get the necessary networks and the necessary finances. I think if we unlock that particular aspect of promoting entrepreneurship in the ecosystem, then I think we'll be able to drive the economy in Western Kenya.
Thank you so much, Beverly. When I come back to you, I'll need to know just the statistics and the numbers. How many businesses have you supported and stuff like that. But before that, I'd like to come to Mr. Frederick Oyugi. Mr. Frederick Oyugi, you do very interesting work, project management, but also you are somebody who's very passionate about the future of work. Why should we be concerned about the future of work when we don't have jobs today, enough jobs today?
Okay, the future of work is shifting.
Okay.
And those who embrace technology, sustainability, and data-driven decision-making will thrive in the job market. And also the traditional employment is declining, entrepreneurship is growing, young people shift from job seeking to job creation. And they do this by leveraging skills, networking, and emerging global trends.
Okay. Frederick, so in a layman language, so assuming that you are speaking to, say, a 15-year-old young lady from Ongeche Primary School, where I come from, what would you tell them is the future of work?
Okay, the future of work is the changing landscape of work.
Okay.
Youth today must prepare for a radically different job market, and entrepreneurship is key to staying ahead.
Okay.
Number one, I will talk about the technology that is driving new business models. Yeah. You find things like AI and artificial intelligence, automation, data analytics, and are also transforming industries. Okay. Sustainability is also a business opportunity with environmental regulations tightening. Okay. Climate-smart agriculture, eco-friendly products will thrive in this competitive age.
All right. So when I come back to you, Mr. Frederick, you'll break this down for us. Maybe, for example, you come from Kwaboae, somewhere in Dewa, in Omabay County, and you want to sort of like think about how to get into the business space, maybe for sustainability and stuff like that. But Claire, I want to come to you. You do a very interesting work that you know empower farmers through capacity building, and of course you also help them in getting financial support and market linkages. Perhaps you could just give us a brief understanding of that sector, what you've done, and the opportunities or the gaps that you see there that we can actually leverage to make sure that we achieve the potential of agribusiness in this region.
Okay, thank you so much, Danish. Yeah. First, I really want to appreciate the fact that we've been given an opportunity for the voice of the youths to be heard.
Yes.
And now back to your question, the gaps that exist and the opportunities that are in the agribusiness sector. First of all, from the morning session, I like what my county government is doing, that is Homa Bay County, with the youths in agriculture or agribusiness. They have created a space that is allowing the youth to embrace agriculture. And we talked about value chain in the morning, and I still want to build on it. This is one sector that has really not been exploited. We have different value chains in agriculture. we have crop farming, we have fish processing. I'm looking at a future whereby we will be having even fish sausages. We don't have them. Yet, we are from the blue economy. I'm looking at a future whereby what are the benefits of value addition? We know that one, it will reduce wastage. Why am I talking of value addition reducing wastage? You find that, I want to give an example of horticulture farming, where you find that tomatoes, especially in Aram market, I've worked in those sides of CI a bit, so I know what I'm talking about. There's a time that they're in surplus, that they are even thrown away. So when we introduce value addition, we know that we can have juices, we can have tomato sauce, we can have so many finished products from value addition. So it is an appeal to our government to invest more, or even to our youth to take value addition seriously. In crop farming, we have a challenge. What we are producing currently is still not enough. It's not enough to sustain us, even to feed us. And the future of agriculture right now is not just about sustainability for food only, but we are looking at how can we turn agriculture into an agribusiness venture, so that when we are farming, we are not just farming for food, but we are farming for business. And this is where, when we are doing even crop farming, I like the fact that we had Mokwa from Homa Bay County. Where is it now in the market?
Okay.
And where are our youths?
All right.
And also, I also want to talk about technology and innovation. We are in the era of artificial intelligence, and this has opened space for the tech-savvy youths to come into the agricultural space, where we have the mobile platforms, we have the Plantix app. Today it has made agriculture so easy that I can farm even when I'm in Nairobi because of telephone farming. Also,
I'll come back to you, Claire.
Thank you.
Just so that we break down a bit more how we can use technology to accelerate agribusiness. But I'm also very keen to understand the difference between normal agriculture and agribusiness. Yes. So maybe if I have like a half an acre somewhere in Korowe, and maybe I've planted cassava, is that agribusiness? At what point does it become agribusiness? Mr. Alphonse, I like the work that your organization does in terms of just all this, whether it is web design and all these things. And I think this community has we have a lot of talent, you know. How then do we get whatever we know in Nairobi and in other developed cities and bring it back home? How do we do intentional mentorship so that we are able to develop technological skills, or skills for the future and for the current, so that we are able to deal with unemployment, which I think is a crisis in this part of the country?
Yeah, I think I'll look at it from just remembering when we were at the Africa Tech Festival in Cape Town, South Africa. Yeah. A lot of conversations, really tech is big, that's true, but a lot of conversations are also in technology, people talking about technology and how they can create an impact. And then on the other side, we have a youth who wants to start a business, or most of them are looking at solutions, how they can go online, and how they can make their businesses thrive on the internet. So what we do is we help every business on the basic steps of how you can go online. Okay. Of course, the conversation is when I want to start up my business, or when I want to go online, will I get my customers? So what we decided to do is to take customers through ways in which they can procedurally go online, from having a domain name, having a website, going into marketing. And you realize that throughout all that, there is a whole gig economy, what just a person with their mobile phone they can do, starting with simple tasks like data entry or feeding in information into artificial intelligence. And now it can only make sense when you know the person who has the business, which is mostly always the business person. Okay. So through what we are doing, which is through the Digitally Fit Awards or Digitally Fit, what we are doing is we brought together businesses across East Africa. That is for all the East African countries. And then we've looked at opportunities that are available there. And then these opportunities are now what we match with the youth. So at the end of it, there is business. A youth in Siaya can be able to do business for a company which is in South Sudan and still be able to earn a living through just offering that gig.
I'd like to request our audience to please pay attention. And if maybe you're a bit held up, please don't speak in loud tones because there's a lot of echo, there's a lot of conversation in the room, and this conversation is extremely important. This region has about 76% of young people, and this conversation here has the potential to unlock it. Thank you so much. So, Ms. Beverly, back to you. I'd mentioned that I've seen a lot of ads and I've seen a lot of billboards in this region of agribusiness for youth, and I've seen a lot of a lot of cards. But there's a very interesting work that a lot of that work is done by the development sector. How then do we ensure that it's not just left to the development sector to provide some of these opportunities, but also our governments pump money, one. Number two, maybe perhaps for the sake of those who don't know, jobs for agribusiness and the work that you do, you could give us the statistics, how many businesses opportunities that you've financed, what's been the failure rate like, and what are the opportunities available in that space?
Thank you very much. So part of what we do as development sector, we all, of course, acknowledge the importance of development sector in supporting transformation, especially in entrepreneurship. But we also recognize the local systems, the institutions that are there beyond the development projects that are being funded by international funders. So what we do to make sure that we institutionalize some of these interventions that we do is, first of all, to identify proven approaches and work to build the capacity of local institutions to, to implement these proven approaches, to develop business models around them so that it's sustainable for the institutions to also carry on the work that we have started. And what we are doing already is, like I mentioned earlier, we are working with enterprise support organizations. So these are local incubators. You may have heard of them, incubators and accelerators here in Nyanza in Western Kenya. And we are working with them to develop business models around what we are promoting as a project. So we are building the capacity at institutional level, at human resource level, so that beyond our project, then they are able to carry on the work that we are doing in a sustainable manner. But I also want to, of course, emphasize the role of government, of course. So government, of course, plays a very, very important role. Our project currently, we look into the framework conditions of private sector entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. The most important thing that we have done, identify some of the policy and regulatory gaps that are there in the ecosystem. We are engaging county governments in trying to address those issues. And I'd like to also inform you that we have developed supported in the development of county youth agribusiness strategies for the 5 counties that we have supported. We have worked on this together with the county government. We've developed strategies that will support them to continue the interventions beyond our activities. So that's part of the sustainability plan that we have. And you also asked how many entrepreneurs that we have supported. So the project that I work with is started in 2020. We've gotten an extension up to 2027. The first phase ended in 2023. By that time, we had supported about 520 businesses, creating about almost 9,000 jobs. These are jobs employed directly by the enterprises, but also those which the enterprises support in terms of at the production level. Businesses that are at production level, whereby youth and women produce to sell to the businesses that we are supporting. For the next phase of the project, we are looking to support another about 500 enterprises again, and we are also looking at even again promoting the ecosystem and the framework conditions to support them in their growth journey. Yes, I think that's...
So these 9,000 jobs were created in this region alone?
Yes, exactly, in the 5 counties that we are working in.
5 counties that we work in. I think let's give them a round of applause. I think 9,000 jobs is fantastic. And for the next leg of this partnership, they're doing about 500 enterprises, and I think that's incredible. When I come back to you, I'd need to hear the number of how much money you guys are willing to pump in. Tell me what's that. And Mr. Frederick, let me come to you now. And I don't want to ask technical questions, because as a communicator, for me, my role is to help people to break down complex ideas into understandable concepts. So I need us to, just do that. So one, what are the barriers that you see as what limits, youth entrepreneurship and why they're not willing to participate in entrepreneurship? I can tell you one is money, but tell me about others, because I want Alphonse to respond about money, Badai, and then to you, Frederick.
Okay, youth are are currently experiencing challenges in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Number one being access to capital, definitely, as you spoke about it. I would give you a solution to that.
Okay, what is the solution?
We need to tap into grants. County governments, international, and maybe the national government supporting the youth.
Okay.
And also youth would also venture into capital.
Okay.
Venture capital, and also public-private partnerships.
Okay.
Another barrier is skills gap. Many youth have ideas, but they lack technical and business skills.
Okay.
I will shout out a good job that Dr. Nation Odero is doing. He has an institute where he mentors youth and build on their skills.
Okay.
The solution to that is the youth would invest in trading, mentorship, and strategic partnerships to bridge the gap. Another barrier is market access. Young people remain local due to limited exposure to the export markets.
Okay. Let me talk about that a bit, about market access mostly. I come from a rice planting region. The majority of the people who actually plant rice there are young people. But when the rice is harvested, we have these interesting buyers from Uganda who come and carry everything from the paddy, you know. But the biggest challenge is that, first of all, there's no infrastructure, maybe, for example, to hold the rice for some time to dry it before then you're able to, time. So do you see structural issues as playing a role in limiting, how young people join entrepreneurship? Because maybe we want, but then there are barriers which are technical in nature, and I think I wanted to address governments so that then they're able to fix some of these bottlenecks that they're facing.
Yeah, structure is also an issue as you talk about it, but all this is we anchor it on capital.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you expect a youth in Ahero to put up a structure to dry rice, yet they don't have the capital to do that.
Okay.
So I would also call on the government, county government, to support young people with the access to capital.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Claire, back to you. I'd asked you previously that you help us differentiate agribusiness from agriculture. And you're continuing in a very beautiful trajectory that I'd like you to now continue and let us know more. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You see, we have the traditional agriculture,
Yeah.
and then we have the sustainable farming. Traditional agriculture is whereby we are just farming. We are just farming for the sake of farming. Basically, we are looking at putting food on the table, but then there's the aspect of, I have food on the table. Do I have money in my pocket?
Yeah.
Now this is where agribusiness is coming in.
Okay.
That now when you are going into agriculture, you are not just going to farm for food, but you are also going to look at ways that the rural economies can grow. That is having money in our pockets. Yeah. And now, you talk of, you have an acre of land. Agriculture is a business. And the moment we start looking at it from that angle, that is when we are going to start reaping from it. The reason why the youths have always been running away from it, they feel like it is industrious, manual labor, and it lacks money. Yeah. But in real sense, agriculture has a lot of potential for growth, both economic-wise and holistically. And that is why it's time we protect agriculture, not just for food, but for agribusiness ventures. Yeah. And when you look at it, what are the opportunities that exist? I talk about value addition, which is something that I will keep talking about, because it has so many benefits when we talk of reducing of waste, when we talk of higher profits. You see, the mango, the raw mango, it is cheaper, but when it is processed, you can earn 5 times or 3 times more from it. Yeah. Even when we talk of high leafy African vegetables, the consumption is so high. And we have a consumer base that is growing currently that is leaning towards organic food. Yeah. They don't want to eat these other foods with pesticides. They just want to do organic. And this is an area that is yet to be tapped so well with the youths. I know there are so many organizations that have come up that are training youths on what we call regenerative agriculture. Yeah. And most of them are running away from it because they feel it is labor intensive. Okay. But in real sense, it is the way to go. Organic farming, offers a lot of opportunities, not only for the youths, but also for our counties to tap into. Because we have the local market, we have the export market at the same time.
Okay.
So training youths in this sector is going to add so much, not only into their pockets, but also into the county governments.
Okay.
Another thing that we can also look at when we talk of the youths coming in, we have the advantage of technology, which we were talking about, creating the e-platforms, the mobile platforms like the DigiFarm, the Twigger Foods, that we can use. These platforms, when they're used well, they eliminate the issue of middlemen. I've heard you talk about rice farming in Ahero. We have rice farming in Homa Bay County. We have rice farming in Siaya County.
And Migori too.
And Migori too is coming. So you see, when we have these platforms, it makes that link farmers directly to buyers. It makes it difficult for middlemen to steal from them.
Okay.
And this, in turn, make them have money.
All right.
Yes.
So I think a round of applause up to that point for the fantastic discussions that are coming up here. We are seeing that the value addition issue that is coming here very strongly. There's, of course, skills and there's training. But I like us to have a roaming mic on the floor. So I'm coming back to you. I'd like to hear your responses and your feedback. But before that, I'd like just, Alphonse, in a minute, how does a young man raised in Rarieda get money to build Oracom, which is a big organization in Nairobi? Take us through that very short journey. And where do we get the money from? Can banks give you money when you don't have like a very proper, bank statements?
Yeah, I came from Rarieda, straight into Nairobi. And then in Nairobi, of course, a young boy, not knowing even, Moi Avenue, how to make it. And then I had definitely my baptism of business. Actually, for the first client, when I was just starting, I started from a bed-sitter house, and then you don't have everything you're doing within there. And then one day I get a quotation, a request for a quotation, and the client here is KRA.
Wow.
They're asking for a quotation for bulk SMS. And I say, like, KRA, how will you serve? And you're just starting, you don't have any documentations. It's just a sole proprietor business. So I decided to give them a very big quotation. I thought it was the biggest, like, so that I can scare them away. And then after sometimes you get, congratulations, you've won it. So at that point, we don't have the V8, actually, what is it called? The ETR. They need that. We don't even know what it means. And that's what happens even to the youth. So what happens then is we have to look for it. We had to look for it in a day, have it configured, and then we moved on. But a lot of things happens for that young man who wants to get into business. Unless you learn things like cash flow, definitely you can't get the discipline that you need in business. Unless you learn, like right now, for the youth I work with, currently I think I have a total of 40 full-time. Sometimes you find them say, I also want to be a CEO like you, so I want to start my own. And of course you congratulate them, but they don't know that as a CEO you have to spend a lot of time more than them. Like for myself, I have to do 2 days every day. Like you have to make sure you're always ahead of everything, the market, the competition, etc. And then they leave work, and then they go outside and they think, of course, the euphoria that everyone can make it, and the internet is for everyone, and then competition comes in. Yeah. And then at the end of it it's very difficult for you to survive against the other businesses. I think from this conversation, and especially what Beverly was saying, what they're doing in offering education, and what even the county governments are doing in offering education. I'm just imagining if Siaya, I got these things from my county, definitely I would be like Elon Musk, Yeah, but now what they do is really key, and it's really important. Because then what I've gone on to do is to come up with even, like I've built Pulse City, which is a social media just like Facebook or Twitter, and it's doing very well. So it means these things are all possible for somebody who gets access to the internet and gets access to the computer, and then they can decide to dream. But definitely lessons like things they do in offering mentorship, teaching people how they can get access to funds. And for my business, by the way, I've never received any funding. Okay. So I've learned to grow it organically. Okay. It comes in handy, yes, but at times funding is really important. Yeah. when you want to scale.
All right, a round of applause for the lovely panel. I'd just like to ask one question. How many of us here organize mentorship forums in any way back in your community or back in your village? Just by a show of hands. Okay, thank you so much. How many of us here actively mentor a group of young people, either from your community or wherever you are in the urban area? By a show of hands, a round of applause. And therefore, how many of us here are actually paying school fees for some people back in their communities by a show of hands? I know many of us don't want to show that, but let's just show it so that, excellent, excellent. I think the problem sometimes I have with our professionals is that we are parachute experts. So we stay in Nairobi, but we come here for a day, and without integrating with the community, we think we know their problems. And then we go to Nairobi and say the community is lagging behind. But when you come here, you realize that this road has been made, this has been done, there's an agribusiness processing done here, this has been done. And therefore, I think it's very important that we integrate with the community. I'd like to get a few responses from the audience. Thank you so much. Who's having a roaming mic? Please pass the mic. So let's look at gender. So start from here. Excuse me? Excuse me? All right. So, all right, let's start from there.
Thank you. I introduced myself earlier, James Onsando.
Okay.
I think this group here is brilliant.
Okay.
And they're pioneering a very important area in our economy. But what they don't seem to really profile properly is the market.
Yeah.
You first start with the market. You understand this is a market of interest.
Okay.
What is the size of this market? What is the product's portfolio of this market? Who else is in this market? Do I have the capacity to compete with this person that is already in this niche? If I don't have, what do I do to ensure that when I launch my product, it can fly?
All right.
That brings me to a concept called product differentiation in business.
Yeah.
If you do not differentiate your product accordingly, no entrepreneur will co-invest with you.
Okay.
Even you, as an entrepreneur, you might not dislodge a person that is in that market segment and has already built networks.
Okay.
For example, a lot of people run into juice, orange juice, mango juice, or yogurt. You cannot compete with Brookside.
Yeah.
You cannot compete with Unilever that does ketchup, okay?
Yeah.
So you have to really understand the market first.
Okay.
And beginning from an idea and starting business is not the best strategy.
Mm.
The best strategy is scan the market, understand the dynamics, understand the demand, understand the volumes before you venture into that market. I didn't hear that come through very clearly.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for such fantastic. Yeah. Please tell us your name and just keep it less than a minute. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Irene Mayaka, nominated Member of Parliament. I come from Nyamira County. I was just listening to the very impressive, some of the things you're saying. And I was actually saying to myself, I need to whisper to Waziri here that we should have a Nyanza International Investment Conference youth chapter in all our counties.
That's a fantastic idea. A round of applause for that. Waziri, hopefully we can make that happen.
Yeah, because this conversation, and you, as you rightly put it, the youth are majority in this country. We have a very high literacy rate, but people do not know these conversations that you're saying. When you talk about value addition in agriculture, that's a very important conversation, because the young people will tell you, we don't want to be farmers. But when you introduce the conversation of innovation and value addition, then it becomes very interesting. Very quickly to what you said about incubators and accelerators. So Senator Asige and I have co-sponsored a bill in Parliament called the Startup Bill, which has already passed in the National Assembly, and it's going to Senate next week, and it's being fast-tracked because it has a lot of government support. The reason why we came up with that bill is because of some of the things like what he said. You have an innovation, but you do not know the steps of how you want to make it become a copyright. like what happened to the person who invented M-Pesa for Safaricom. It gets stolen away from you. So this is going to help to handhold young people in their startup businesses, for you to be able to have copyright for your businesses, and also how to start entrepreneurial innovation businesses. And what we really have said in that particular bill is that we do not want to reinvent the wheel. We want to already work with the incubators centers within the counties that are already here. So as I said, I will definitely take your contacts, because this conversation, we definitely need it. We need to escalate it and have it in all our counties. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Pass the mic to the governor. Kindly, Governor.
Thank you very much. I want to appreciate the opinion of the opinions of the young persons who are here. I want to say that the virgin area in business growth is agriculture. Yeah. And when you talk to young persons all over the nation, they are not interested in agriculture. Some of us who have grown a little older and are parents, we want to encourage you to have family conversations about land ownership. No young person in any family is interested in owning any land. They are talking about developed property. They are talking about Airbnb and such things. In agriculture, particularly the one that is related to food, everybody wants to eat and eat good food. There is guaranteed market. Because young people are innovative and they are able to do what agribusiness is all about, they can grow or they can develop or look into the product of their interest. There'll always be market. They can look at the costs and use innovation to cut on the costs of production. They can also use technology to find out where the market is and other things. So you can start with agriculture. Counties are available to help you too. Don't start big, do lean startup. If you start big, you will fall hard. And remember, when you start business, you will keep falling and rising, falling and rising. So don't start gigantic and fall down, crashing or hard. You will get hurt. You will never assemble or gain enough courage to rise again. And then thirdly, and I think this is very important for young people, you know, farming, if your mother, your father, your uncle who didn't go to school can do it, I am sure you can do it better. Just get to like it. There are many people, many people who will use your products. What you will be able to get out of it may look not profitable, but by and by you will earn more and more, and will continue growing. All over places like Migori, Homa Bay, Kisumu, there are opportunities that you cannot even feel in this generation. Right. So look there, do it, we'll be there to support you. Thank you very much.
A round of applause. Pass the microphone kindly to Governor Kidero. All right. A minute, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it was a very, very exciting discussion on opportunities, on entrepreneurship, and some of the discussions that we had in the morning. We talked about the blue economy, we talked about fish and agriculture, and probably just bring to what you pose a question to the young people, that the young people who've grown rice in Ahero and don't know how to add value to it, and just not in Ahero, it could be in River Kuja, it could be in Mwea, or it could be down in River Yala. As you know, there's quite a lot of work that has been going on at the Ministry of Trade, and I think my peers must be here. And you'll recall about 2-3 years ago, tend not to have a market where to sell, especially rice. And if I just take you back a little bit, total rice consumption in this country is 1.2 million tons. We only grow and harvest 235,000 metric tons. So we import close to 1 million tons. Tanzania here next to us does a lot more than us, 10 million tons, nearly 40 times what we produce. So the government put up this fund of close to 1 billion shillings And KNTC is mandated to be buying from farmers, and we've been buying. And what we've discovered, that actually the farmers sell from brokers, pretending that they're from Uganda, and then selling it, bringing it to us. So one of the things that the young people or people don't have is information, getting the right information so that they're able to exploit the market the way it should be. So you are talking about 4 things. I think information is major and very, very key.
Thank you so much, Governor. You've mentioned we did some work with the affirmative action funds, and we realized that this region takes the least money, especially where I come from in Nyanza. We did find out that the Women Economic Fund and all those other funds, they don't take them. So I think also information is a problem. Right there, the microphone up, the lady, because we've had, just for gender equality, I'd like that lady just to give us, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Belmi Kipruto, the founder of Ustawi Organic Farms. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I would like to know your thoughts. It's an open question to the panelists. What do you think about the circular economy, and how can youth be supported to tap into, because most development partners and banks don't even understand circular economy. So we don't even get support in terms of funding. And circular economy is untapped and it's very wide. So if it is given a chance and the priority it deserves, since the world is moving towards climate action and climate smart technologies, how then as Kenya can you link entrepreneurs that are coming up with innovations that are actually helping the society and the environment to get funding and scale up? Because it's an industry where manufacturing can be really big if it is tapped. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for those such ideas and those questions. I want to come back to my panel. Each of you with your closing remarks, and if there's any question that you need to respond to. We'll start with Beverly. Just less than a minute. Your closing remarks, and if there's any question you can respond to.
Thank you very much. I don't know, the question that she asked on circular economy, I think that was a question. Just to respond to that, if you allow me. Yeah, so as a project, what we are doing, we have a special component on circular economy. We are actually, the first phase, we did a hackathon based on green businesses. So these are green businesses that have a green climate aspect, which were supported in terms of grants at that particular point. And in this second phase, we have a special component on supporting entrepreneurs in adapting to the climate change. So we are going to have special support for enterprises. We are looking to partner with green finance institutions, and come towards mid-year, around July, we are going to have something we are calling green finance clinics to see the opportunities that are there for businesses, for green businesses basically. So look out for that, and I can share with you my contacts. So just as a closing remark from my end, I appreciate the conveners of this event. And for me, as a call to action, as a parting shot for me, is that we need to work together. I think promoting entrepreneurship and innovation calls for an integrated approach, that we work not as silos, but in collaboration to ensure that we have one common agenda, and that is to promote youth employment and entrepreneurship and innovation here in Nyanza. Thank you.
Where do you find your offices in this region?
Sorry?
Your offices in this region?
Yes, our office is in Milimani.
Okay.
Yes, Milimani, near former Victoria Annex Hospital.
All right. Now, when this next funding is going to come, it's going to be a lot of announcements and ads done so that we know.
Yeah, we've had a number of advertisements already. We have now already 245 businesses that are already set to get supported in the project. So that window is closed. I'm sorry for those who wanted to apply, but for 2026, we are going to have a new call again.
Thank you so much. Mr. Alphonse?
Yeah, just to answer or to give a reply to what he was asking about market access, I think technology can easily solve that through e-commerce, where like the rice farmer can be able to just single-handedly upload their products with their details online, and then a customer would go in and find that information and buy directly from them. At the end of it, it doesn't need to go through the middle person, because at times you find when you go through the brokers, then it's the farmer who runs at a loss because he doesn't sell them at the best prices. there's something that we've done on our platform. You guys can check it out. It's keonline.biz. And what we've done is brought together businesses across East Africa. And then people are able to ask for things that they need. When you go online there any minute, we realize that there are a lot of inquiries. People are always looking for solutions that business people have or experts have. So with that, then there is a great opportunity for people just to tap on leads and inquiries coming in every day, and they are all always there on the internet because people keep searching for information. Yeah, and I also welcome us. We can always check it out if you're a consultant in a given area or if you sell products or services. There are lots of leads that are on that platform that you can capitalize on.
I hope you are going back to Rareda to tell them this information, and you're actually doing that right now.
Correct.
All right, thank you so much. Claire, in less than a minute, your closing remarks.
Okay, thank you so much. What I would like to say is, one, as youths, we are creative, we are innovative, and we are energetic. And it will start with us taking responsibility. When I talk of us taking responsibility means we have to be organized. Most NGOs, most projects, they don't just work with individuals. They work with organized groups. So we need to come together so that we increase this 10% of the youths in agriculture to 70%. I also want to emphasize on the need of incubation. I'm really grateful that there is something that is happening with the government. Thank you so much. And also the GIZ and other organizations that are working with youth to ensure that youths are involved in agribusiness. Let more agribusiness incubation centers come up. We see ICT hubs coming up and business hubs coming up all over the country and all over the counties. Let us make more agribusiness incubation centers. This will encourage more youths participating in agriculture. Thank you.
I would answer something about Dr. Kidero talked about middlemen in the rice industry. Nowadays, it's a problem that can be solved with a tech-driven solution. There are blockchain systems that are developed by the youth. For example, I had a project along the coast in Kilifi on cashew. We broke the middleman problem. We uprooted the middleman from the system by creating a blockchain system that we enabled us buy products directly from farmers, and our system could tell you the name of the farmer, where is the farmer coming from. We could do a traceability, and that creates a transparency within the supply chain. My parting shot to the youth, the world is shifting very fast, and let's not look for opportunities. Let's create them. Let's invest in skills, leverage technology, and think beyond borders.
A round of applause for the lovely panelists. Our time is done. Our time is completely done. I'd like to hand over back to Mr. Cliff Onserio. But before I leave, I've wanted to give my flowers to somebody who did lower the ladder. You see, Dr. Evans Kidero, when he was the governor of Nairobi County, opened his door to me as a young writer in Nairobi, and we work extensively. I think if many of us can lower the ladder to young people, I think some of these problems we talk about would not be there. Please, Dr. Kidero, get your flowers while you're still here and well, openly when you're here. Thank you so much. My name is Danisho Dongo. This is the panel about exploring avenues for unlocking the potential of the youth. It is a youth convention, and my panelists did a fantastic job. I think we can give them a round of applause as we walk out of the stage.
Thanks, Danish. Well done. Thanks for keeping to time. Dear panelists, please stay on stage for a group photo. Let's give them a round of applause, please. I'm grateful that they all kept to time. Clearly, the youth are ready for leadership. So, Danish, thanks for leading the way. Let's give them one final round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. This marks the end of the Track 1 parallel session looking at youth entrepreneurship and innovation taking place at the main tent. I also want to just alert the sessions that are ongoing on education, skills development, and mentorship should be closed now. And the session on sports, performing arts, and creative economy at tent 2 should be closed as well. Thank you very much. We are now transitioning into the next parallel session. This is one looking at infrastructure, transport, energy, and housing that is taking place right here. Allow me to invite Mairura Mwenga as I make the announcements. Mairuro Mwenga will be joined by Madam Florence Nyole, or the representative from the Architectural Association of Kenya, Charles Hinga, or the representative from the Housing and Urban Development, Captain William Ruto, the Managing Director, Kenya Ports Authority, Engineer Dr. Mesha Kocheng from the Kenya Airports Authority as well, Sabrina Newby, who's from the Newby Development and Consulting. I'm told they'll be presenting virtually. Joseph, please come up as I'm calling your names. Joe Sang or his representative, the Managing Director from the Kenya Pipeline Company, and also Engineer Peter Njenga, who's the Managing Director at Kengen or his representative. This is a session on infrastructure, transport, energy, and housing taking place at this very stage. If you're a part of the legal and regulatory issues, this is going to be taking place at 10 to 1. I'll announce 10 to 1 is taking place just by the T area, where we're having the T, the breakout sessions for the T. We'll have that session moderated by Professor Migai Akech. So anyone here who's attending the session on legal and regulatory issues, by show of hands, if you're here, your session is on breakout 10 to 1. If you could kindly make your way there, kindly. The session on leadership and governance, ladies and gentlemen, will be taking place at breakout 10 to 2. As I mentioned, this is just next to the tea break area. The breakout 10 to 2 is just next to the tea break area. So if you can kindly make your way there. This session will be moderated by Michael Munari, who's also the Vice Chair at the Nyanza International Investment Conference. Thank you very much. As the team is getting ready on stage, this session will be moderated by Mairuro Mwenga. Ladies and gentlemen, please note that we are also going to be gathering here at exactly 5 p.m. I see our Principal Secretary in charge of trade, Alfred Kobudo, is here. This session will be moderated by Con Omori at 5 p.m. So please, we'll all gather at the main plenary tent after the breakout session in an hour for the final panel for today, looking at improving the investment climate for Nyanza's socio-economic growth and development. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your patience. In view of the shout out given to former Governor Evans Kidero, I'll also want to give a shout out to James Ongwae, I think one of the key innovators on the Kisii Entrepreneurship Investment Conference, more reason why we're here. So thank you so much. A round of applause to Governor Ongwae as well for believing in the young folks as well. And in that view, also recognizing the former governors, allow me to recognize former Governor Kisumu, Jack Ranguma. I think there's something happening there around the former governors. You're all sitting tight together since morning. So thank you, elders, for being with us from morning and being very patient with us. Thank you very much. Without further ado, please help me welcome now to take the floor, Mairuro Mwenga. Your 1 hour starts now.
Thank you very much. Check. Thank you. Thank you very much, facilitator, and welcome everybody to this very important session that is focused on transport, infrastructure, energy, and housing. A very important and key session because it is addressing those elements within our economy that act as lubricants in the economy. And as you know, just like simple machines, even just riding a bicycle, if you don't have enough lubrication of your gears, as you turn the wheel, you'll find that it will be a very difficult exercise, and soon you'll be tired and your machine will break down. So the infrastructure plays a very important part in the socio-economic development of our economy and therefore our lives. And therefore, this particular session, I trust, will be important to all of us. Our panelists have been introduced, but just for clarity, I want to introduce the the person who is just seated next to me, Captain William Ruto, the MD of Kenya Ports Authority. If you can raise your hand so that we get to know you. Thank you very much. Then next to him is the President of the Architectural Association of Kenya, Architect Florence Nyole. Thank you very much. And then next seated to her is our CEO and MD of Ketraco, Engineer. Thank you very much, John Matigo. And then next to him, yes, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Rono Kibet. I'm the General Manager, Commercial Services, Kengen.
Right,
I'm representing Engineer Peter Njenga.
Right, thank you very much and most welcome. And then next to him is the person who makes sure that our aircraft land and take off safely, Engineer Meshach Ochieng. Welcome.
Thank you.
Then lastly, the representatives of our PS, our representative of the PS State Department for Housing, the PS Hinga. His representative today is Jared Boga. Okay, please welcome. Right, now we have 1 hour, in fact less than 1 hour, and therefore I'll get into the business straight away. First of all, I want us to start home. It's about housing. They say that indeed the final and most critical decisions are actually made at home, and therefore I want to start at the session dealing with the housing. In this particular session, I want to direct it to our PS representative, State Department for Housing. First of all, I think it would be interesting to give a quick overview of the status of, and in particular, the affordable housing project in the country, and in particular, our Nyanza region. Then as you respond to that, I think it would be important that you also get to highlight the opportunities that do exist within the housing, and in this case, the affordable housing project opportunities for investment, both for local and international investors. And then lastly, as you finish, what are the challenges and the way forward? On the same item, I want to invite the President of the Architectural Association of Kenya. As architects, I think you have a very important and direct input into this particular project and housing in general. You can also respond to the items in the same way. Each one of you 5 minutes so that we're able to catch up on time. Thank you. PS.
Thank you so much, moderator. And to start us off, the State Department of Housing draws the mandate from the Constitution, Article 43, on socioeconomic rights, and essentially looking at the needs of housing deficit in the country. We have over 200,000 housing unit deficit annually, and that is the gap that the State Department is yearning to bridge. As it is, we draw our fund from the housing levy, which raids our pay slips, and that fund is what now we implement the affordable housing program. As it is, across the country, but with special focus for Nyanza, because I'm the regional director for Nyanza, we have over 20 housing projects in this region. There's no county that do not have a housing project. The only county that is lagging behind in Nyanza at the moment was Nyamira, but now we have 2 projects that are under procurement. The ones that are ongoing, we have over 5,000 under construction on Lot 1 and Lot 2, with a huge capitation of over 30 billion as we speak in the Lot 1 and Lot 2. Now, apart from housing, just to give a broader perspective of why housing, is because the housing economy essentially provides employment. Employment that cascades from unskilled workers that we employ on these sites to engineers that we draw from the consulting firms, graduate engineers that we have onboarded as interns and also as trainees within these projects, skilled masons.
Also for construction companies to come on board and start implementing this affordable housing. I think we need to move away from the fact that this housing is going to be built by, a multinational or a company that's coming from outside. It has to come from the local organization. I believe this particular region has the ability to raise construction companies that can actually engage in this. And I speak in my other hat as a board member in the National Construction Authority to say that we need to now start empowering even our own local contractors to undertake these projects. And creating that particular environment is very important so that we are able to have the investments trickle down all the way up to the local level, as it were. And one of the areas we need to think about and expand is the issue of local content, as is talked about, but also local materials or materials that are, here. I've heard one of the youth members talking about circularity, for instance. Can we start looking at materials that are local, for instance? We don't need to start importing materials from elsewhere. Yet here locally, we can start looking at materials that are locally sourced. There are alternative building technologies that can help us to quickly evolve and create affordable housing programs for ourselves. So the opportunity in terms of housing is there. And even as I conclude this particular response is that as I think there was a presentation earlier on this morning talking about how the Nyanza region is looking like in terms of the population that is here, the contribution to the country's GDP and so on and so forth. And we are beginning to see a high increase in population. And so it means even as we continue to increase population, and very well it's been said that in the next many years, 2050 thereabout, more than half the population will actually be living in urban areas. So we need to start planning for those urban areas. And even though we know that our deficit in terms of the housing is 2 million, we know the government is doing something about it. So let's not be afraid. Let's actually begin to engage in those opportunities. I believe the opportunities are there. There's obviously so much work that has gone into it to streamline how professionals can be engaged, how construction companies can be engaged. And I believe that locally, this is a very big opportunity for us to be able to engage in as professionals.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As you prepare to answer the other's closing session, I want to pose this to you and think about it. Many times, many investors, you hear them say, these professionals are expensive. To the common mwananchi, they don't know who the architect is, who is an engineer, who is a town planner, and so on. So they just build. Think about that. Now, moving to the next item, the energy sector, another very important sector to the economy. Energy is the power that runs the economy. It's the power that runs the country. And as we move to the energy sector, I want to pose this question to our representatives, first of all, starting with Kenjen. How much power, how much electricity is available? Do we have enough power, or do we have serious shortages, and that is why there is frequent power outages in many parts of the country? What is the status? Because unstable and inadequate power will certainly stifle the development of our country. And if you can focus that on this region, the Nyanza region, that would be useful for this audience.
Moderator, thank you very much for that very challenging question. And I'll attempt to answer it this way. One of the most complex systems you can ever we have on Earth is a power system. It's so complex, it matches what happens in your brain. This is one of the spaces where you really have to calculate your development of power against demand. And that is why under the ministry, we have something called the Least Cost Power Development Plan that outlines expected organic demand and now schedules for power planting to come in play and major infrastructure like transmission lines to come in play at the right time so that you don't have an idle asset that is going to be very costly to the economy. And in that balance, I would outrightly tell you that yes, we have capacity. We're just a bit strained in terms of evacuating this capacity to all areas, but we have quite some fast-tracking initiatives, and I'm happy that the CEO of Ketraco, Engineer Mativo, is here. He'll shed light on that. And more so, we're also fast-tracking certain development power plants that are coming up. I'm happy the governor of Migori is here. The other day we were at actually Gogo, one of the oldest power plants that KenGen has that used to support the gold mining there. Because of the ingenuity of our engineers and our teams, we're upscaling it from 2 megawatts to 8.6, the same river. So I'd definitely and affirmatively tell you that plans are in order, and we're doing this in a very calculated fashion to make sure that the benefit and the cost of energy goes down, because every additional cost will hinder further development and production. Energy does drive the industrialization, and one of the advantages we want to have as a region is to have affordable power, and that's majorly the role of KenGen because of the support from government, the support from DFIs, and the confidence in our brand. We're able to put up plants using very high efficiencies that cost less to the economy. I would also like to share that we are now looking at something called the East Africa Power Pool, which is basically integrating the whole regional power pool, right from Ethiopia all the way to the southern part, because we'll be able to link there. And sooner or later now, power will be more or less being transferred into all these countries. And what that means is that our demand is no longer within our boundaries as Kenya. We are now stepping out to a big area.
Right.
And for that, we are also prepared, and we are putting in the right measures to make sure that come that time, Kenya will be a net exporter, not an importer. Thank you.
Right. Closely related to that, what are the opportunities for the counties of this region to generate power? Because I think under the Constitution, the county government have a responsibility, have got a mandate in terms of electricity, okay? What is the opportunities for the counties, or indeed investors in the counties to be able to generate power in that respect?
Thank you, moderator. One of the biggest hurdles we have when it comes to doing these CapEx projects that are very capital intensive is stakeholder management and the cost of land. But when you go to developed countries like New Zealand, the communities there say they are better off not selling or disposing their land. They are better off leasing and working with these people in terms of a collaboration for a benefit, okay? And now with the growth of the counties, that I'm very happy that the Migori governor is here, because one of our smoothest transitions to acquire land was really facilitated by the county government. And that way, it becomes very easy to fast-track some of these projects at the lowest cost possible and appreciating. A county like Nakuru has been very supportive of our geothermal expedition because that resource is kind of like domiciled within that region. So supportive that we've started something called the Green Energy Park, where we're inviting industries world over to come and invest their industries there with 100% traceability of power from a green source. And what we end up with is a green product that fetches a premium as a country. And these investors are able to tap into something called green interest, where your capex cost will attract very low interest rates because you're doing a green product. So the scale of that to the economy, employment, and trade balance is enormous. And so partnering with counties especially in terms of identifying resources, fast-tracking and helping us, will be key to unlocking industrialization, noting that most of these counties actually have industrial parks there. And we are happy to support them in terms of putting up the relevant power solutions for any industry that is coming there.
Thank you very much, thank you very much. Indeed, then from your answer, it naturally leads to evacuating the power from the various sources into the country, from out and within the country, making sure, because we are told we have actually enough power, but the issue might be then this power needs to be efficiently delivered, transmitted to the consumers. Ken Trako, Engineer.
Thank you, moderator, for that question. I know we've had long discussions on what is happening in terms of the space. I think all of us recognize that without having reliable, adequate, and stable power, seriously, there's no serious large power consumer investor that will want to put their plant, because nobody wants to be in a place where the outages or the power is not very predictable how it's going to behave. But some of the things, and I listened to the questions you asked my colleague here, I think it's good for us to understand where we came from, to know where we're going. This country, just briefly again, be as brief as possible, 67 years ago, we did the first transmission line from Jinja all the way to Juja. Then it was taken to Rabai. Lesos was put forward later. Then late 60s, early in the 70s, 80s, the two heads of states at that time put up a number of hydro plants. So connected lines all the way to Rabai, to Nairobi, to Naivash, to Nyanyuki. Then we had, Takwel came in 81. We had lines coming to Lesos again, then Eldoret was connected, Kisumu was connected. A line went to Cheposit and Moroni. What I'm trying to say, if you look at the timeline in those 50 or so years, Kenya only did 3,400 kilometers of transmission lines. So population was increasing. A lot of emphasis in terms of last mile connection, but hardly an investment in transmission. So we get to a point where the transmission line was seriously constrained, and that's why the government made a deliberate decision around 15, 16 years ago from Ketraco. Maybe the good news is we have tried our best. We have moved the number of 3,400 to, we've added 6,000 plus, so the grid is around 9,400 kilometers. We hope to reach 10,000 kilometers by the end of this year. So a lot has been happening, and we get there. But let me focus more in terms of Nyanza, where that's where we are. And we know Nyanza is a place, at least from the numbers I know, there are serious constraints. Again, back in time, the line from Chemosit was extended all the way to Kegati, which is in Kisii. But the line that passes between Moroni and Chemosit is the line that supports Kericho County all the way to Bomet, to parts of Transmara, Migori, Homa Bay. Big part of the country is supported with those lines. So that's one of the lines we plan to do. I'll tell you what we're planning to do. We later, as Ketrak was early in our life, we did the line from Mumias to Rangala, so we brought at least a substation within Siaya, really serving a big part of Siaya, actually, all the way and back to Ndiwa. Governor knows that. We worked quite well with, close to him. But let me go in terms of what we are doing currently. The projects we're expecting to finish this year.
Engineer, there is a map behind you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We plan to finish within this calendar year is a line from Sondu all the way back to Ndiwa. This will ensure that all the counties from Homa Bay all the way to Bigori have two alternative lines of supplying power to remove the constraint that is in Chemosit that is affecting Kericho. So the two lines will be available. So very soon in the year, you'll actually see more power being able to flow all the way in terms of all the counties. This time I'm including Kisii, Nyamira in a short time within the year. So that's a project that is coming on board. We did line from Olkaria all the way to Lesos to Kisumu. So currently Nyanza is connected to both Takwel through Lesos, is connected to Olkaria, and the line from Olkaria to Kisumu can actually bring a maximum of almost 500 megawatts of power. That's almost half what Nairobi utilizes. So we bring a lot of capacity. We just started a line from Narok to Bomet. That will allow power from Olkaria to flow to Narok Bomet by December, all the way to Kisii, and so Bomet, Kisii, Migori, all that side will be taken care of at the end of the year. So our infrastructure we're doing, we're just about to start negotiating financing for a line from Kibos, Kisumu, all the way to Bondo, to Rangala, and all the way to Busia. So there's a lot of infrastructure that has been done, but there's more that has been done to ensure this power flows. Let me, because I spent time with the governors recently, and the MPs, and this is what I was giving them assurance. I've looked at the numbers of all our substations. Transmission lines, because of their nature, operate at almost 100% efficiency, because I was telling the CI MPs that Rangala substation for the last 12 months has been at 100% availability. Substation was at 99.96%, something like that. So by the nature of high voltage lines, they operate at a very high level of availability. Once in a while, we have a national blackout, but besides those hours, it's almost 100% availability. So it's very important that Nyanza has more and more high voltage lines and substations coming on board. And that's a kind of, when you start talking about line coming from Bomet, being able to bring 160 megawatts of power, bringing 500 megawatts from Olkaria. Takwel, we plan to do a line from Kitale all the way to Musaga, which will drop all the way back again to Rangala. And we have the line from Lesos. That means we can actually evacuate more than 200 megawatts from Takwel into Nyanza. So we are getting to a point where we will, power itself at high voltage will be available. And here now we're talking about Nyanza being able to invite big manufacturers. I'm talking about data centers that are consuming 100 megawatts plus. These are the kind of things. The industrial parks, I've told the governor, I spent time with him yesterday in Kisumu, what we're planning to do in his plans I've had. We have a substation. We're going to make ourselves available to ensure that Nyanza, after some time, has adequate power at high voltage level, and we can start talking to all your big players, Blue Economy, anybody else. We are getting there. I know we still have to work with our sister company, Kenya Power, and REREC, because they got a low voltage, and that's why you get a lot of interruptions.
I see.
But we are doing that a lot. So KenGen can continue investing a lot. But I want to mention something. Again, I started by giving the history of transmission in the network in the country, little investment, but we got to a point to put a lot of investment. But we're currently going through a problem where is actually a moratorium from National Assembly of more power plants. The moment you stay for a number of years without bringing base load in the country, that is a problem you actually are pushing to the future. We are bringing currently 10% of our power comes from Ethiopia, and Uganda also gives some power. So also, I know you asked the question about whether we have adequate power, but as a country, I can assure you from where I sit, is that we need the power that comes from Ethiopia to support us, and Ethiopia and our interconnection to support our grid. But we are getting to a point where we will assure you of reliable power at high voltage level. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think as you, towards the end of your presentation, you did indicate that really, as far as KETRACO is concerned, there is enough power, and also in terms of transmission efficiencies, anything above 90, very close to 100%. But yet we continue to have challenges of stoppages every other day. But you did mention that you need to have your sister organizations down the line now, KPLC and REC, that maybe those are the ones that reach their customers. And I suppose that maybe in the next time they'll be able to maybe answer finally that question where we have frequent power stoppages. Thank you very much for that. And we now move very quickly to the other very key sector. This is the transportation sector. Members of the audience, please just keep your questions, okay, be framing them, because soon I'll be getting back to you to raise them. As we now get to the transport sector, a very important sector that is very dear to all of us. And on this particular sector, I want to start off with the Captain Ruto is seated next to me here in terms of the Kenya ports. What are the opportunities for water transport within this Nyanza region? We have always associated ports and the KPA with Mombasa and the coastal region. What is the potential for water transport and indeed the development of the adequate infrastructure in the ports of Kisumu and other ports, potential ports within the lake region? And in that regard also, our port operations and water transport operations two countries, because the lake brings us together in that regard. What are the opportunities and what are the challenges at the moment? Captain.
Thank you, moderator. And as you have rightly said, the ports have always been known to be in the port of Mombasa and the coastal side. But I want to say that as a port, we not only run the port of Mombasa and other ports within the country, but we also run the lake ports and also dry ports. One of the things which I want to say is that, as everybody is aware, infrastructure is the key enabler of the social economic growth for any country. And what has made the port of Mombasa to be where it is as we speak now is the infrastructure and the several models of transportation that this country has invested. One, the country has invested in SGR and the meter gauge. We've invested in the road infrastructure, which serves the northern corridor right from the port of Mombasa all the way to DRC. I also want to say that the port of Mombasa serves 8 countries, and that's why we pride ourselves as the gateway to East and Central Africa. Coming down to Kisumu or Lake Victoria, one of the things which I will say is a very good example on investment on infrastructure is when Kenya Ports Authority was under the port of Kisumu and all the lake port, piers within the lake, we started investing in Kisumu, and we invested to nearly a tune of 2 billion Kenya shilling. And with that investment, we have seen a growth of cargo volumes being handled in the port of Kisumu from 46,000 tons, that was in 2020, to last year where we handled 280,000 metric tons of cargo. That is a 500% growth in investment and in terms of opportunities that are also there. So one of the things which I want to say is that by investing in infrastructure, you also create employment, you open up opportunities, and also open up, increase the economy of the region also, and of the county, especially the county of Kisumu that has enjoyed that. And also, we are not only looking at Kisumu County, we are looking into all the counties that bend within the Lake Victoria. It's one thing which I also want to say is that as a country, we've not really exploited in the blue economy. And it is something that if we invest in the blue economy, there's a lot of opportunities for us that we can exploit. Currently, as KPA, we are building landing sites in most of the counties. We've started with Kisumu. We are on in Homa Bay, which we've already invested more than 600 million. We are also soon starting Busia, Siaya in Asembo Bay, and also not forgetting one thing which I want to say, and I think the opportunities that are there, is that by investing in water transport is the cheapest and the safest. And I'll give you a very good example so that the audience can be able also to understand. When we started investing in Kisumu, when we came in, there was no vessel that could be able to dock in the port of Kisumu. But with the investment that we did, and also inviting the private sector, because also the private sector invested. We have a company that is based in Uganda that invested in 2 vessels that operate between Kisumu and Uganda, and also other vessels that operate between Kisumu and Nyanza. And I'm happy to say that when Kenya Railways invested and rehabilitated the meter gauge, we've seen a lot of cargo coming from Mombasa all the way to Kisumu and shipped via ship to Uganda and Nyanza. So the example which I wanted to give was that one shipment load of fuel from Kisumu to Nyanza, it loads about 4 million liters. It removes on our roads more than 158 trucks at one go. What does that mean to the country? It lessens the burden in terms of the infrastructure that all these trucks could have been using. Number two, in terms of carbon emission, we are also reducing. And also, as a country, we also benefit in terms of reduce the investment in road, because now we have lessened and we have given people several models to use. One of the things that as counties that we within the lake that they really need to invest seriously is water transport. As we continue investing in building the landing sites, we also want to invite the private sector and see also what kind of incentive can we give them to be able to invest in water transport, because the opportunities are there. And the other thing which I also want to say is to promote the fishing within the lake again. We also need to invite the private sector by building the landing site. We build cold storage facilities that can be able to help the community that fish within the lake to be able to store their fish and get value and also do value addition. We are lucky in the port of Kisumu that we have an airport, we have a meter gauge, and we also have a road network. So really we give customers several opportunities and options that they can use. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The cheapest and most efficient mode of transport. There is no maintenance of the infrastructure. The waters are already there. All that happens is just to make sure that the vessels, the vehicles, are a great opportunity there for the private sector. We'll want to see more and more people within this region, Nyanza region, really moving goods and people on the waters of Lake Victoria. Thank you very much. Now, indeed, you also, as we move away now and get into the Kenya Airports Authority, that really in the transportation system, it's about providing options. Indeed, we talk about integrated multimodal transport system. That gives a better sustainable system in the transport sector. And therefore, in that regard, as we now invite Kenya Airports Authority, the MD, Mesha Kocheng, within this region, we have the Kisumu International Airport, but as I get to discuss people in the various counties in this region and many counties in the Republic, it appears that every county is looking forward to having an international airport. How viable is that? And as you answer that question, how adequately is this region served as far as air transport is concerned?
Thank you so much, and welcome home. It happens that this is my village. I was born around here. But I wanted to, before I respond to your question specifically, let me just make a correction. I represent the MD. I'm the General Manager for Projects and Engineering at the Kenya Airports Authority. But I wanted to bring this conversation of transport back home by asking ourselves, it started with blue economy, then moved to agriculture, but we need to ask ourselves very tough questions. One, how connected are we as a region to our centers of production and centers of activities? Because if you're not connected, I don't think we'll be able to achieve our development aspirations. So that is one fundamental reality that we must accept. The second thing, we have to consider transport as a wealth creator, while at the same time as a wealth consumer. As the captain has indicated, investment in transport has multiplied economic impacts and to a region and to the nation. Back in 1998, I was privileged as a student to attend a conference in Arusha. That was the keynote speech was given by the then founder father of Tanzania. And it is Nyanza rising towards economic transformation. But that particular conference, the theme was rise. Rise denoting roads for economic empowerment and opportunities. So transport can open up rural areas, transport can open up urban areas, transport can open up communities. And if we can't have an efficient transport system, both in terms of quality and in terms of quantity, in terms of density, because if you look at this region, the density of our transport systems is just so low. So that is something that we need to focus on as leaders, and we need to come up with solutions on how do we improve on our transport networks. Two, Western Kenya, Nyanza included, because Nyanza is a Luya word meaning, a large water body, for those who do not understand. I've done a lot of consultancy in Middle East, and water transport is key. One day, an Arab asked me that you come from, the second largest water body, but I don't know how many boats you can point in our shores of Lake Victoria. If you cross over to Nyanza, you'll be shocked. So they're ahead of us. And that is why Nyerere, the founding father of Tanzania, said that as we, Africans, we are struggling to reach our villages, the West are really moving to the moon. So how do we create opportunities without having proper access to our villages? If we don't do that, I think we will not be able to achieve that. Now, coming to respond to your questions, in terms of the infrastructure, the aviation infrastructure in Western Kenya, and Nyanza in particular, we have Kisumu International Airport. We have airstrips that are commercially operated by Kenya Airports Authority. We have Kakamega, which, because of infrastructure challenges, we've closed it as we rehabilitate the runway and the apron, including the taxiways. Then we have Kitale, that is in Trans Nzoia. We've just developed Matulo, and Governor Ken Lusaka is here. Matulo will soon become a commercially operated facility in Bungoma County. In Migori, we have an airstrip which is commercially operated by Kenya, by KA. We intend to invest heavily there. We intend to, lengthen the runway so that larger aircrafts can be able to land there. Well, at the same time, we are, developing a modern terminal building, a modular and integrated terminal building in Migori. Well, at the same time, we are currently rehabilitating Kabunde, that is Homa Bay airstrip, and developing a new terminal building. So in terms of the capacity of our airspace, I think we are overstretched. I think we are overloading the airspace quite a lot. But the infrastructure that we have is enough to provide the needed connectivity from Migori up to Bungoma. I think Kenya Airports Authority is poised to provide that infrastructure. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Any prospects for Chisi Nyamira?
That's a very good question. The siting of an airstrip or an airport is a result of quite a number of studies, aeronautical studies, MET studies. Suneka in Kisii has been decommissioned because of land encroachment and land issues. We are developing a new airstrip in Kilgoris, which will definitely serve that region. There's one coming up in Narok, but at the same time, there's another one coming in Bomet. So we'll be able to cover the upper part of the rift, moving to Kisii.
Right.
But in terms of opportunities, and this is something that I really want to discuss with the audience and investors, we have Kisumu International Airport here. There are no cold storage facilities here. Victoria did a very good presentation on fish farming. Do we have cold storage facilities in Kabunde? We don't have. Warehousing, logistics centers. Okay. We have commercial land lying empty at the Kisumu International Airport here. There are no investors.
Right.
Many investors, including Adani, came and are grappling for opportunities in Nairobi.
Okay.
We have serious opportunity here, a landmass lying empty, waiting for investors.
Right.
From Migori, Homa Bay, Kisumu.
Right.
Thank
you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think then, as we indicated, that the transport system really has got to be looked at in an integrated intermodal packaging. I note that the roads sectors may not have been part of this panel, but information got to me that they are actually here, and therefore I want to very quickly ask Kenya. There should be an engineer from Kenya, and also Kura to, I'm sure for the people from the counties, it is really the road that really gets to the village, to our home, that is really quite an issue. How adequately are we served as far as the road sector is concerned? There's somebody from Kenya, and Kura here, please, just yes, please, just come, if you can pass the mic. If it is, there's something that Our Excellencies, the governors cannot sleep, is about the roads. Yes. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, moderator, for this opportunity. My name is Engineer Wilfred Oginga, Director at Kenya Urban Roads Authority. Now, I was wondering why this discrimination when we know that all last mile connectivity is actually finished by the roads. For this, at Kura, basically we deal with urban roads. Okay. Urban roads, you know, is mostly about accessibility, but also quite a bit about mobility. Now, we focus on what we call sustainable mobility. That means we start with the most basic form of transport, that is people walking. Because last mile connectivity is always through walking. Then we consider cyclists. We also then now start considering vehicular traffic. And then we have in genuine other modes of transport that then now we try to bring on board to ensure that sustainability comes into road transport. And that means now then we want to transport people in masses, that is mass transit, through bus rapid transit systems. And then now I'll tell you about technology, what we call intelligent transport systems. Right now we are trying to install on our roads, sensors, help people. Thank you. To help you know, bring technology in the movement of traffic, to reduce congestion, to reduce emissions, and to ensure that transportation is generally undertaken in a sustainable way. In terms of the adequacy of our roads, in terms of quality, we are still lagging behind as a country. We have a big infrastructure gap. We have a big infrastructure gap, both in terms of maintenance and also in terms of construction of new roads. So this is the situation in which we are. we are trying to address them within the resources that are available to us. So I think that's what I can say for now. And I'll pass it over to my colleague from Kenya, who will tell us more about how the trunk roads that connect us to various places is also
Thank you,
done.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
2 minutes, it's just that our period, which were initially assigned 1 hour, has been reduced to just 1 hour.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Engineer Julius Makodero. I am the Regional Director, Kenya National Highways Authority, Nyanza. I'm here to represent the Director General of KENHA. The KENHA network across this country is slightly above 21,000 kilometers. Out of the 21,000 kilometers, about 2,500 is located in Nyanza and Western combined. That translates to about 15%. Now, this is a region that has the advantage of being crossed by 2 major corridors. We have the Sirare, Kitale, Nadapal corridor that passes through Kisumu. And then we also have the Northern Corridor that passes through Kericho, Kisumu into Busia. Now, when you look at the national trunk roads within the region, the government has endeavored to really make a lot of investment around here. Right. The national trunk road, if you were to value it, is just a shy of about 150 billion Kenya shillings. And the government has endeavored to ensure that also adequate resources to maintain this network has been made available.
Right.
Nyanza region on itself, this current financial year was allocated about 1.8 billion. You should note by now that most of our highways are not bushy. They don't have the potholes that was a characteristic of the past. And this is because Kenya has adopted performance-based contracting.
Thank you.
Where you have contractors maintaining the roads and they are paid on a monthly basis.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Finally, we have got one of our panelists out from the US. She wants to give us 2-3 minutes, and therefore we want to allow her now to come on board. This is Sabrina Nyube. If you are there, please, some 2-3 minutes.
Yes, thank you.
It appears we might not be able to, right? Thank you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Greetings, Your Excellency, President William Ruto, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, former Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Governors of the 6 counties of Nyanza region, Excellencies, Ambassadors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sabrina Newby. I am the CEO of Coastal Georgia Minority Chamber, and that's here in the U.S. And I'm here today with my colleague, Dr. Otha Thornton, former Human Resource Director of the White House Communications under President Barack Hussein Obama. Thank you to the conference organizers for inviting us to participate in this very important conversation. And thank my Kenyan counterpart, Belinda Odhiambo, for working with me on this significant opportunity. We would not have been here without her, so I thank you very much. Today, my colleague Otha and I address a matter of utmost urgency, and that's the potential of affordable housing in Kenya. Housing is a fundamental human right, yet millions still live in inadequate conditions. The need for affordable housing has never been more pressing. Kenya's population is rapidly urbanizing, with approximately 25% residing in urban areas, leading to a housing shortage of about 200,000 units annually, with most of the demand occurring in urban areas. However, it is important to acknowledge that different urban areas face varying housing challenges, and the situation is not uniform across all regions. The Kenyan government has started several programs to provide its people with access to affordable housing, such as the Boma Yanga housing program. This initiative enables citizens to sign up and save funds for their choice of housing project. By offering middle and low-income families high-quality, affordable homes, this program aims to close the housing gap. Another significant initiative is the government's partnership with private developers to provide affordable housing. Public-private partnerships that combine housing with contemporary facilities like schools, hospitals, and shopping malls are exemplified by projects like Nairobi Park Road Project and Gara's housing project. Kenya has enormous potential for affordable housing, especially in the nation's developing towns with land and property prices much lower than major cities.
Thank you. Sorry, we have to stop there. We certainly pick it up, that discussion, with the international partners in this discussion, and we must appreciate for sacrificing to wake up early in the US as we get into this. Thank you very much, and at this particular point, just one or two comments from the floor. We must finish at 4 on the dot, because this is the main arena. I see a forest of hands, and I said it. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where all the representatives, governors, and whatever, it's about transport. Let's start here. One quick, short question or observation.
Thank you very much. I want to help you. Because, you know, sometimes you can be doing something the same way, but you are not getting out of Parliament and all over the place. I was chief conservator before in government when the ministries were smaller. Then now I'm the chairman of National Housing Corporation. I wanted to say something about the issue of the youth. There is something that we must handle. In the issue of legislation, you know, you can talk, somebody can come from anywhere and be a member of Parliament. But we assume that when they're making laws, they know those laws. These guys who have been talking here sometimes, they know it even better. Because I looked at the guy who was moderating, and the gentleman who was talking about the one who got a job from KRA. You see, these are things that just happened by chance. They just happen to have happened by chance. But we wanted something which is universal, because the numbers are increasing. We want something which is universal, so that it can be fair to everybody. And there's a time when government came up with these TVETs, these technical vocational training institutes. That was meaning that you don't have to be an A material to go to university. Okay. Because you know people have got different capacities in terms of catching up.
Okay.
So the idea was that even somebody who is in standard 8 cannot continue because they can't pay school fees, can go to a craft course and they can be able to go up.
Thank you.
So I would like that to be enforced so that we can have a favorable playing ground.
Thank you.
Now about
one is okay. One is enough, please.
Please. Okay. It's very important. I'm telling you.
Okay, then. Few seconds, please.
The two of them. This my younger girl here. This you know, this is my product in the profession.
Correct.
And the one from housing. There is something they did not clarify here. You know, we are just talking about affordable housing. But you know, we have not been able to know the difference between affordable housing and low-cost housing. You know, the concept before was low-cost housing. That one is the one that depended a lot on the technology, because you could come and even use cardboard and build a house and it will be cheaper. And this is what I was telling my friend Margaret, we have been in Parliament with him. You find somebody from here putting up a house, alafu anaenda kuleta mawe kutoka Gilgil. Mahali nyumba zilitoka unakuta wanajenga nyumba na matafali. So they were housing. And what they have not explained, affordable housing means the land is zero rated. The land is zero rated. It is not the materials which are zero rated. It is the land, because it's government land, public land. All of us here, the land in Kenya belongs to all of us. But the government holds this land in trust on our behalf. So this is why we are telling the governors and so on to give land in the areas so that the wananchi can benefit. That's what it means. And then, about power generation, there was something that we signed. You guys have to advise government that the rates that were given that time for power were much higher than what you could get with the Kenyan. And we must have a way of getting out of those contracts, because Kenyans are paying a lot for power because of the people who agreed at that time and they signed very high rates. Okay. That's why power is expensive in this country.
Okay.
If you go to a place like China, with a population of 1.6 billion, Africa, you said today is 1.5, but here there's blackout every time.
Okay, thank you.
Why should we have blackout here?
Thank you,
when we have
Mheshimiwa.
got experts here?
Thank you, Mheshimiwa.
And then finally, the Kura one. Finally, I told, the Kura people, they are my professional colleagues. I told you, their boss. This thing of traffic jam, you can't control traffic jam by sitting in the office. If you are an engineer, you wake up, you put on a tie, you go and sit in the office from 8 o'clock, 1 o'clock, you go for lunch, come on.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Yes. Right, this is where you really get it tight.
Yeah,
we'll take all the other questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa.
But when you call a meeting like this, some of us come in because of this.
Yeah.
You can't come and then you don't call us and then you control the meeting. You must let us say what you want to say.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Thank you, Mheshimiwa.
To a meeting and
Thank you very much. Well taken. Because of the time constraints, ladies and gentlemen, it was 30 minutes cut short. I see the hands up. His Excellency, the governors need to ask a question. I'll just ask His Excellency, the Governor Migori, to just raise one item, and that will be the end, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello?
Oh.
You can see the enormous interest that we have here.
Right.
I believe we are not slaves of time. We are not slaves of time. If we do not take what we are here for seriously and minimize it in terms of time, then we might as well just sit here and have a tea. I'll take the shortest time. One, for the housing people, the innovation of the architecture of our constitution is devolution. And the Kenya Kwanza administration calls it rightly bottom-up. Devolution was the original bottom-up. It's still bottom-up. When you are dealing with the housing from the national level without embed it in it will be short-term. We appreciate that this is the entry point. But you should also tell us when the counties will be able to have this fund so that they continue having it nationally. Two, the meaning of affordability is ambiguous, and ambiguity is not useful. Is it affordable when it comes to selling those houses to people who want to own them? Or is it affordable the way those city houses of Lumumba Estates, Buruburu, and others were affordable? Because what we need in our urban areas are houses where the working people can live. If they are for sale, I think the people who are going for profit will buy them, hike the rents, and then they'll no longer be affordable for common people who want to live there. Let me leave the housing issue aside.
Thank you.
Energy, it's the issue of cost. I don't want to say where I was, but I was the Minister of Energy some other time, many years ago. If, and you have talked here very well, connectivity, you have talked about quality, and quantity, but you are not addressing the issue of cost. The cost of energy in Egypt is less than 6 US cents a kilowatt hour. The cost of energy in Ethiopia is much better than ours. The cost of energy in South Africa is a lot better, and that's what the Chinese are doing by building huge nuclear power plants. What are we doing to reduce the cost of energy in Kenya so that investors can be encouraged to invest? This is an investment conference. People will not invest if it is not affordable, reliable, and available in adequate quantity.
Thank you.
Lastly, in terms of the issues of roads again, this is one of the functions that the counties really need, and the counties are the places where the smaller people with an exploited potential are. If you look at the road networks in rural areas, well, counties are told to put them up, counties are not given money. In fact, part of the money is locked up there in endless litigation and legislation. What are we doing to open up those small roads where smaller people with immense potential live? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's have the lady. Yep.
Thank you very much. My name is Sheila Olang. I'm an economist from Migori County. And thank you for honoring the gender card. My comment or my question was actually very much gender related. You're talking to investors, and investors today want to understand what is the social impact of their investments. So we are hearing a lot of conversations about building a lot of things, but what is missing here is how are you planning to have social impact when investors invest? How are you planning to take care of issues such as gender, issues such as climate, and issues such as incorporating the youth element into everything that you're discussing in terms of investment? So this is just a bit of something to think about, that for every investment that you're asking for, you have to think about the social impact for the sake of the investors who are coming in.
Thank you very
And
much.
please get more women to participate in all these conversations.
Thank you, thank you. We must stop there, and we want to, let's give a round of applause to our panelists and everybody who participated. Thank you, and God bless you. The panelists, you will stand as we take our group photo.
Please, I have something to say.
Yes, as we stand, no problem.
This is Lois Mbewa from Kenya Airways Cargo, here on behalf of Kenya Airways. I'm sorry, just for 1 minute. I'm meeting Sheila for the first time. I've been talking to her for 1 year. She would like to do exports of omena from Migori into JFK, London, Amsterdam, and Belgium. I receive requests from Kisii. They would like to take dried perishable to Lagos. I receive requests from Kisumu for live chicks and GCOs to Johannesburg. I received another request from Siaya to Cairo of avocados. Personally, I have done live chicks from Nairobi into Addis, Antananarivo, Douala, Zanzibar, and Harare, almost 184,000 chicks. And what my request is, and this goes to Daktari Mesha Kochien, I would like to appreciate the Kenya Airports Authority for the support they've given me specifically and Kenya Airways Cargo when we do repatriation. They clear the airports for us. I started the initiative of accompanying passengers, and today Nyanza people are doing air. Every weekend we have 3 to 7 repatriations of human remains and accompanying passengers of more than 40 per flight. My request as our next initiative, and I talked to Mr. Wafula, Kenya Airports Authority, and Naftali Oseko, is we need support for the export from Kisumu. Currently, I'm unable to do the clearance with the families from Kisumu Airport. So some of the the clearance has to be done.
Thank you. Your point is actually made.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The panelists, please, if you can start. Now, any further inquiry, please, all these members up here, panelists, are available at their stands. Get track, they are out there waiting for you. Kenya Airports Authority, the ports are all here to answer any further questions. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Mairura Mwenga, please give a round of applause as well. Mairura, we're waiting for you. Thank you. Please give a round of applause as well to the moderator and the able panelists as well. I want to appreciate you all, delegates. Before we proceed and before I invite Con to take it up from here, this will be our final plenary session. Please help me welcome our conference patron. Allow me to give a chance to the governors for a bit of pleasantries there. If I could ask them to please settle, the panelists, as I invite Eliud Owalo, who's the Deputy Chief of Staff, and of course our conference partner, for a quick announcement, and after which then I'll call the final panel, and also alerting those who are the breakout tents to please make your way into the main tent.
Good evening, everyone. Now, I wanted to appeal to all of you to try and observe time tomorrow so that we are here 7:30 for 8 a.m. start. The chief guest will be here by 9, and he will be with us for a maximum of 2 hours. Yeah? So let's come early by 8. We start doing our other issues as we wait for him to come. Then he will leave at 9. He will leave at 11. For the political class who are here, the chief guest will, on his way out, stop at the Huduma Center to commission the Huduma Center at Ojola, which is just next door, and then subsequent to that also inspect the ESP market, currently under construction at Kisian, on the way to Kisian, just before the Kisian junction. So please, I want to plead with all of you, try and come early tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And in view of that, we'll want to keep to time and release you for day one. First of all, just to ensure that you actually know your neighbor in the spirit of networking, spirit of doing business together, kindly make sure you know somebody on your left and right, and just tell them thank you for making it this far. If you've not picked up their business cards, maybe this is an opportunity to do so. I would not assume that we all know each other. Might be a good opportunity. We also have a screen out there, so I know I'm also speaking to the exhibitors and the delegates who are also still out there. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, and as you collect the cards and get to know who's your fellow investor, please allow me now to invite you all to the Improving the Investment Climate for Nyanza's Socio-Economic Growth and Development. I'm honored and glad that this will be ably moderated by my friend, Mr. Kon Omore, from South Consulting. He's a partner there. Of course, a man who's distinguished, particularly in the public policy and governance space. He'll be the moderator for this session, and we'll also have a keynote presentation from the Principal Secretary from the State Department for Trade, that's Alfred Kobudo. And we'll also hear from Honorable John Olago, who's the Chairman, National Government Constituencies Development Fund Board. So I'll leave it up to Kon, and who will later, maybe I can help you, Kon, just read out the panelists to have them on standby. Joseph Motari, PS, Social Protection, will be joining us. George Odhiambo, Managing Director, National Bank of Kenya. Wycliffe Shamia from the Capital Markets Authority, or his representative. We can also have Dr. Samuel Oyeke, researcher at the Africa Economic Research Consortium. John Okulo, Director of Corporate Banking at KCB. Dr. Shea Mochola, Deputy, so if they could make their way to the front as Kon is making his opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Labon Cliff, if all the panelists, if you've been mentioned, the keynote speakers, panelists, please come forward so that we save on time. And once we have the keynote addresses made, we can transfer you get and the climate of investment you have. And I hope that every speaker or panelist here will touch on what does Nyanza need to make or to function? What needs to function in this region to improve the investment climate? But the topic goes on to say, for Nyanza's socio-economic growth and development. And socio-economic growth and development is very basically improving the quality of life for individuals and communities through economic and social development. So we want to see how those two connect. Investment climate, what's in it? Is it working? How do you improve it? And socio-economic growth. Are we improving, in turn, the quality of life for individuals and communities? Ladies and gentlemen, I will invite our first keynote speaker, my good friend, Mr. Alfred Kombudo, who's the Principal Secretary for the State Department for Trade. Not more than 10 minutes, PS, to make your remarks. Karibu. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
And how are you keeping today? Good shout out to Excellency, my governor, Peter Nyang'nyong'o, and to all the panelists here today and everybody who's there this afternoon. Kombudo is my name. I'm a son of Kisumu County, so it's always great to have this conference back at home, notwithstanding that, of course, we are looking at a much bigger remit. Right from the start, I'll probably take less than 10 minutes, but I would also want to seek the indulgence of the moderator. My colleague, Principal Secretary Abubakar Hassan, will be joining us later today and shall be here tomorrow. And he will go a lot in depth into issues of investment climate. Of course, we understand the issues about licensing, about infrastructure, about business development services, and so forth. So in view of the fact that my colleague earlier this morning, the MD of the Ken Invest, also went a bit into that, allow me to speak more about trade and how it connects to the investment climate. And I believe the other panelists will also touch on a number of things. First and foremost, one thing that I would like to invite all of us to do at a conference like this is when we are looking at opportunities, we should always look at the global trends that are happening and how those are creating opportunities for us. Markets out there, I saw the young lady talking about exports, and happy to have a conversation after this. But there are certain things that keep on happening globally that are key for us to keep track of. Global supply chains are changing. You have lots of people, for example, wanting commodities to be shored from certain countries. What does that mean for Nyanza? It basically means that there are sectors which, by the very nature of what is happening globally, creates fresh opportunities. Look at the sector of textile and apparels. We do not have industries here that are employing 30, 40,000 people in that sector. Of course, we had several years past, but we are in a very strong position to attract investors looking at the US market, the EU market, especially those that are coming from countries whereby there's sort of a lot of global tensions happening right now. And if you look through my colleagues at the Special Economic Zones Authority and the EPZAs, we are getting lots of inquiries from people who want to diversify. Nyanza should also be part of that diversification that's happening. Other things that are happening, for example, in Bangladesh, which is exporting more than about $40 billion worth of textile and apparel to the EU alone, is graduating from a lower income country into a middle income. And what does that mean? It basically means that they'll be charged tariffs for accessing the EU market. When we think about that, we have strong opportunities in Nyanza to basically attract companies that are currently also exporting into the EU textile and apparel for them to put up their factories here, because we've negotiated a trade agreement that allows us duty-free access, no taxes, and quota-free. You can take as much as you want into the EU. So as we keep on evaluating changes that are happening globally, we begin to see the opportunities here. We've been speaking a lot about energy, but we think of energy mostly about powering industries. But we are also seeing new uses of energy. Data centers are becoming a key area for which investors are looking for. We have strong potential in hydro, and we have strong potential in those kind of areas. And so our hydro resources within here, whether it's on Nzoia or Yala and so on and so forth, can have those kind of conversations, and our ministry will always be happy to connect you to the people who are trying to have these kind of things put up. We are also having to take a look at special economic zones a bit differently. Of course, agro-processing is one of the things that we want to look at very strongly, but one of the inquiries that we keep on getting is fit-for-purpose special economic zones within specific sectors. Kenya is importing more than $1 billion yearly of pharmaceutical products, about $500 million of it coming from India. And therefore, we are in a very strong position here in Nyanza, given of course that we are near the East African Community basin, to basically attract specialized special economic zones in things like the pharmaceutical sector. And these are areas that if you come to us in the ministry, we will be able to have conversations with you and even link you specifically to people who are keen on this sector, be they from the UAE, from China, and many other places. Let me speak very briefly about market access. One of the things then that is extremely important for a meeting such as this is to recognize that you're now living in a country that over the last 1 or 2 years has now gained tariff-free access for exporting practically any product that you want globally to 46% of global GDP. Yes, half of the world. And what do I mean by that? Last year, we concluded an economic partnership agreement, which was negotiated by my State Department to basically afford us access into the EU market. And that includes all of the things that we were talking about. It is the chilies, the avocados, the textile and apparel, and all of that. And we have that on a permanent basis. Secondly, let's not forget that that's 27 countries and an economy of about 13 trillion euros. Number two, we do hope that before the end of this year, we shall have AGOA renewed, and that will hopefully then maintain a market into the US economy, which then we should also exercise. But one agreement that I'd really like you to focus on is one which we recently signed just last 2 weeks ago with the United Arab Emirates. This is a $500 billion economy whereby they are importing about $4 billion worth of food. They're importing about $2.5 billion worth of meat and meat products. And we come from a region here in Nyanza that is very active and has lots of livestock. What are some of the opportunities then that we need to do? We need to then look at how to activate our livestock sector here, and that has to do with the abattoirs. Within the State Department for Trade and with our partnership with the Livestock Ministry, we have programs with the World Bank Group whereby the Kenya Development Corporation is, for example, having financing mechanisms all the way to about 6-7 billion shillings for people who want to get into feedlots, for people who want to get into modernization of abattoirs, for people who want to basically get into the export value chain for meat and meat products. So these are areas whereby we have been engaging and will be keen to strengthen this level of engagement. I'll stop maybe by saying that we have the tools within the ministry. We are completing the multi-commodity exchange, which then will be able to have things like the rice, the sorghums, and all these other products on board. We basically also have the Kenya National Trading Corporation, which we are reinvigorating under the chairmanship of Governor Kidero, and that will also be one of our instruments for sweeping up products from within the region. My parting shot is this. Everybody who has spoken here today has spoken about opportunities, opportunities, opportunities. It may even sound ad nauseum. The one thing that we need to carry from here today is project preparation. That's the graveyard of good ideas. So let's have a mechanism from this conference. Come and engage us at the Ministry of Trade, and let's see how we can tap into international resources so that the ideas can turn into project preparation for those in infrastructure sectors and project preparation for those else, so that then we are able to translate these into clear opportunities. And of course, the investment climate would be very important for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, P.S. Kombudo. Very good remarks, which I'll cover those later. I want to bring on stage next the Honorable John Olago Alwoch. Incidentally, I didn't say that I'm also a son of Kisumu, and you're in my home area. Home is just across the road. And he was our good MP. So Honorable John Olago Alwoch is currently the chair of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund Board. So that will take us a bit more on the socioeconomic growth and development side of things. Is it working? And you've been in the news, not you, sorry, but the people you manage have been in the news with regards to how they're managing or mismanaging the fund. Talk to us, Mheshimiwa.
Ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, I have a difficult task of 10 minutes to convince participants, local and international investors, that CDF is not a political fund, but a fund that creates a conducive atmosphere for investment, a fund that has a socio-economic effect in our country and the whole of Kenya. I will try my best to do so. The latest figures from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics show that the real gross country product for Nyanza region is 820 million. That is a very sizable contribution towards our national GDP. coming from this region. So what's the role of NGCDF in all this in our region? It is important to note that CDF is incorporated under an Act of Parliament, which has been amended over the years from 2004, when the first one was enacted, to the last one, last 2023 in December. And the functions of the NGCDF in our country is to use funds from which they only share from the national government, not county governments, to facilitate provision of sustainable development in all parts of our republic, and the progressive realization of the economic and social rights as stipulated in our Constitution. The fund has made significant strides in enhancing sustainable economic development in the country by offering new growth opportunities at the grassroots, thereby granting openings that can sustain local development. It is also strategically structured to stimulate both local and international investments. NGCDF is part of the national government's enabler support to the grassroots, which can then be leveraged to NGOs, development partners, and other international investors as we deliberate on international investments, so that Kenyans at the bottom of the pyramid do not feel that they are left out. I say so because the fund facilitates infrastructural development in our republic, in our public learning institutions, schools at primary, junior, and senior secondary levels, as well as tertiary institutes through construction of facilities and renovation of dilapidated ones across the country. This enhances the creation of skilled workers required by both local and international investors. For instance, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, the NGCDF board financed construction of at least 155 technical training institutes across the country. The TTIs serve to bridge the skills gap faced by the Kenyan manufacturing sector investors. Further, in partnership with the Kenya Medical Training College Board, the fund has facilitated the establishment of 61 new KMTC campuses across the country and improved infrastructure of 14 pre-existing KMTC campuses. The expansion of medical training in our country through NGCDF support gives both local and international investors in the field of medical services the opportunity to expand their investments with local and not imported manpower. NGCDF also supports infrastructural development in the security sector through construction and renovation of security facilities and public administration offices, which include police posts, police stations, chiefs and assistant chiefs' offices, national government administration offices across the country. This improves the overall security situation in the country, thereby creating a secure environment for local and international investors. Further, the NGCDF, being a fund with clear management structures, ensures efficient and effective utilization of resources to support projects with positive returns, which can then inspire investor confidence and signal a more business-friendly environment. This encourages private investors not only to partner with the fund in supporting the implementation of infrastructural development, but also puts capital into the local businesses and industries in the confidence that the public sector is also improving the economic climate. Ladies and gentlemen, to achieve sustainable economic growth and boost productivity, our focus has been on supporting micro, small, and medium enterprises and empowering youth and women groups through targeted infrastructural development and skill enhancement programs. NGCDF has continued to play a critical role in supporting MSME sector in deliberate efforts. For instance, the fund has created jobs in the non-farm sectors through engaging artisans and the purchase of locally available materials at the constituency level, which then promote business in MSMEs such as hardware, transport, quarrying, and others. In the last 3 financial years, that is 2022, 2021-22, 22-23, 23-24, NGF has disbursed approximately 39 billion, 42 billion, and 50 billion respectively to the constituencies, which then translates to local investment at the grassroots level. The fund will further disburse in this financial year 52 billion into the local investment. In addition, the fund supports the building and construction industry by providing markets for local products, including those in the Juakali sector. In fact, most of the projects implemented by NGCDF are constructed with local materials only. This opens opportunities for local citizens to improve their production and spending power, create opportunities for local investment and circulation of money at the grassroots, thereby creating employment and wealth. Moreover, by facilitating in construction and equipping ICT hubs, the fund fosters innovation and technological adoption among MSMEs, especially among the youth, thereby leading to increased productivity and competitiveness. This is in line with one of the key strategies in the government's agenda, which is to expand internet connectivity. For instance, NGCDF, together with the Ministry of Information, Communication Technology, and Digital Economy, support the establishment of 1,450 digital hubs, one in each ward, to enhance access to digital opportunities and to enhance awareness and uptake of online platforms for employment and business opportunities. This enables the ICT sector to access trained and experienced human resource for local and international investors. Ladies and gentlemen, before I wind up, allow me to state that in the current global business environment, many international investors are committed to funding projects that align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly in areas like poverty reduction, climate action, and quality education. MGCDF projects are explicitly tied to these SDGs. For instance, the amendments to the NGCDF Act in December 2023 enhanced the fund's support to the government's climate change mitigation and adaptation measures by allocating up to 5% of each constituency's annual allocation towards targeted interventions. Nationally, this translates to a total of approximately 2.6 billion this current financial year. This provides a classic opportunity to partner with both local and international investors who prioritize environmental protection in a bid to address climate change mitigation and adaptation issues. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, allow me to underscore the MGCDF role which is significant in Kenya's economic transformation by empowering communities, promoting inclusive growth, and aligning with the national development priorities outlined in Better and Vision 2030. Through targeted investments and collaboration across sectors, MGCDF is contributing to a more prosperous and equitable future for all Kenyans, which translates to a more conducive investment platform for the local and international investment. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that in these few minutes I've spoken, I've disabused you from the idea that CDF is a fund that, if properly utilized, can help our people. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Honorable Olago Aluoch, for shedding some new light, actually, on CDF, and I'm sure there'll be questions around that. Thank you to our keynote speakers who have kept time. P.S. Kombudo advising us to always look at global trends, even as we look at the investment climate on the ground. And one of the big lessons you gave us was that we should always have good project preparation. With a lot of examples you've given of how Nyanza can be a link or a site for a lot of the bigger business that's happening out there. And it made me begin to think some of the global trends we've seen in the last couple of weeks, especially from the US. How is that hitting the Nyanza region? And Honorable Aluoch, grateful that you've shown us, especially the socioeconomic growth, impact, and side NGCDF in terms of your infrastructure development, the resulting job creation, supplies from MSMEs, and I didn't know about the 5% to climate mitigation. I think that is new for me. So I want to move to our panelists, and one of the things I want to give a premium to is the participation of the delegates. So I want us to clear with this session so that we have the delegates ask you, panelists, questions that they may have around this topic. So I want to start from my right, and I'm giving you your panelists stroke respondents. So you're also responding to the keynote speakers, but you will also chip in based on your thematic area or sphere of influence, or the area that you're representing, and how that contributes or informs the improvement of the investment climate in Nyanza and the link to socioeconomic growth. Please draw generously from what you're doing and what you know. And I know seated here we have bankers, we have international governance experts, we have my friend the PS, social protection, media represented here, amongst others. So I will begin, and to save time, I don't want to come up and call each of you. So Director of Corporate Banking, KCB, Mr. John Okulo, you will start. We may all know you, but just introduce yourselves and then do your 5 minutes, and we hand over to the next. So I will only come up here. PS Kombudo and Honorable Olago Oluoch, you're exempted from this. Let the panelists who haven't spoken speak. Is that okay, guys?
Yes.
Very good.
Would you like me to come up?
Yeah, you can come up, you can sit, that's fine. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And Your Excellency, our host governor, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, Honorable Eliud Owalo, the convener, and all those who've participated in putting this event together. My name is John Okulo. I'm the Director Corporate Banking at KCB Bank Kenya, and we are the anchor sponsors of this event. We're honored to be here because this event really speaks to our purpose, which, as you all know, is for people for better. We've been operating in this country for over 125 years. And as a group, we're in all 7 East African community countries, and we're represented in all the counties of Kenya. When we come closer to home, to where this event is taking place, we have 33 branches within the Lake Victoria Economic Bloc. Currently, we are lending about 80 billion shillings to different segments, and as I listen to all the participants, the amounts that we're lending to the different sectors actually just speaks to the level of opportunity, whether it's in manufacturing, agriculture, trade, or just in lending in individuals. So out of that 80 billion shillings, a lot of it is going to our personal banking space. Next, it's agriculture, and then trade, then manufacturing, and we even have some clients who are in mining. The service industry is also a very, very big area that we're focused on, especially in social services such as education and health. We're actively providing funding for LPG cooking at schools and solar lighting and powering schools and health facilities, because really for an area to develop, it's not just the physical infrastructure, as in roads, ports, or availability of power. It's also the ability to have the social services that encourages investors to come and spend time in a particular area. So we're very happy with what we're seeing from a banking perspective. On issues regarding gender, for those of you who are KCB customers or who may have paid an interest, we have a program called FLAME. It's for female-made and led enterprises, where as a bank we committed to lend 250 billion shillings over a 4-year period. This was launched about 3 years ago. So far we've disbursed about 50 billion. In this particular region, we have disbursed about 14 billion shillings. So you can actually see the potential and opportunity for us to lend to female-made and led enterprises, which also comes with an insurance package that covers against various types of insurable risks. From a KCB Foundation perspective, we're actually very active in supporting individuals, the youth who would like to employ themselves through the Tujiajiri program, and we partner with counties. I think we have about 4 signed up partnerships. We partner with CDF and GCDF, and what we do is we match funding in many instances to allow the youth to develop a skill which they can then use to employ themselves and to employ others. And we pride ourselves as the foundation as one of the largest catalysts of employment in this country. From a spectrum perspective, KCB operates in all segments of society. We can easily lend up to 20 billion shillings. So PS, if they're large-scale investors, we'd also be very interested in getting involved in that. In the agriculture space, we're very keen to ensure that farmers get fertilizer on time, so we're always involved in that area. But what I'd also like to do is to encourage individuals, especially the youth, not to shy away from approaching banks for financial services. When you look at some of the businesses that have grown over the last 10, 15, 20 years, a lot of the individuals were told that it wouldn't be possible, don't try, don't take this, it's too big a risk. But just one example, Siala Resort. This area was a swamp. I think they started building about 10 years ago. It was a swamp, a very unlikely place to have a hotel, but it's now the premier location for such events in the region. And it leads to a catalyst. It allows other entrepreneurs, other services to develop around it. So as KCB, yes, as a banker, we have to lend responsibly against cash flows. Yes, we do need security, but guess what? Under the FLAME program, female-made and led enterprises will lend up to 10 million shillings unsecured. Under our ecosystem banking, if you have a strong anchor tenant and if as a strong anchor client who you're supplying goods to, we can structure solutions that would require minimal security as long as we are confident that the payments will come through. So with those few words, really like to thank the organizers for allowing us to play a key role at this event. And we hope that these deliberations will lead to very successful investments. Thank you.
Thanks. I will speak briefly about the media sector. My name is David Omoyo, CEO of Media Council of Kenya. And I will just reiterate that we all perhaps know the role of the media, both in promoting policy, dialogues, and community empowerment, and information to spur investment. In our case, most important to understand is that there are many opportunities here, especially at the lake, the blue economy, agricultural sector, because we have a lot of rain all the time. And wherever you want external investors coming, long before they go to the databases of the counties and the KNBS and others, they will look at how the media is covering that. That's the reason why mostly we need to stress the work of the media and empower them and accompany them continuously. Also, a well-informed public, the culture, when the guys come, the actions of the local community and all that is what will spur confidence to the investors coming in. But finally, is to appreciate that the media, in most cases, is like the mouth of a human being. So what the media says is what is happening to the body. And many times we spend a lot of time trying to correct the mouth. So if the mouth says the small toe or the big toe is aching, we should spend a lot of time looking at what is the problem at the toe and not try to tell the mouth, shut up or twist this way and that way. By understanding that, so the media is consistently pointing out matters and asking where areas that need attention and all that. And so if all the stakeholders, government, businesses and others here, look and listen to the mouth, and stop dealing with the mouth really and try to respond to the issues which the mouth is raising, we'll have more and more active participation, especially in the era of fake news, disinformation, and AI, so that then the right information is passed to the relevant people, and then a community then is able to accompany the entire body, is able to move in one direction. Thank you very much.
All protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Hatujambo. Thank you, moderator. Allow me to take it in another dimension. I'll not talk the way the others are talking. Because, one, my name is Joseph Motari. I'm a Principal Secretary for Social Protection and Senior Citizen Affairs. That tells you whom I talk about, whom I represent when I'm here. It's quite unfortunate, our moderator and the entire delegate, the governor, nobody have been patiently waiting here to hear a word about children. Nobody has mentioned a word about children. Meaning we don't have children? Nobody. Nobody has mentioned anything to do with the vulnerable people. We don't have them back at home. We don't have all the people back at home. Why are we investing? To do what when we don't have children? We've spoken quite a lot here about the youth. These youth were once children. Yourself and myself were once children. And we violate their rights every other day. But how do we develop without taking care of our children? In Nyanza alone, we have about 2.8 million children. And out of those, we support, that is social protection, we support 74,000 of them with an amount of 148 million. That is not little money. We move again to all the people and vulnerable people. Ladies and gentlemen, we really have a number of vulnerable people in our nation. We have about 1.7 million vulnerable people that we support in social protection. And out of that number that we support in the country, in Nyanza alone, we spend 547 million per month to the vulnerable people of this region. So we are really injecting quite a lot on the vulnerable people of ours, whom we cannot do without. We've since moved this money, and out of that, within a year, we spent about 18 billion in this region, and that is money that comes to this region in support of our vulnerable people. We saw it was taking quite a lot of time for them to go to the banks, and now we have moved this money from today, actually, to be precise. We've moved this money to M-Pesa and the e-citizen platform. So you will be seeing these people moving near the nearest place, pick the 2,000 of there, the stipend, and then move on it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will not talk so much, but next time when we have such a forum, I request, let us put our vulnerable people in front. Let us talk about them. What should we, how should we invest on them? Yeah? Look at our children. How can we invest? Our children are harassed. Our children are molested. Our children are killed. Their rights are violated. Let us talk about them before we start talking. How can we develop our region? Coming to what the moderator and the other speakers have said earlier, I come from this region. I come from Migori County at a place called Ikuria, Kehancha. And in those areas, there's nothing that this nation, this region cannot grow, nothing. We grow coffee. I am a farmer of coffee back home where I come from. Kisi grow a lot of coffee. We have 2 seasons in a year. So we have quite a lot that our people can feed on, and then we grow our people. So please, when we are talking about this, let us look at our human resource. Who do we need to grow? Where do we start developing our people in this region? Nyanza was known for professors and doctors. Where are they? They are fading away. Are we producing good children are we giving our children good background for us to develop to the professors of Governor Nyang here? So we have quite a lot to do, and please, we're moderators, organizers of these events. When we talk next time, please give us good time, give us a priority to come here and talk about our young people and vulnerable people of this region. I thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and to our host, Governor, His Excellency Professor Nyang. Thank you so much for staying this long. It means this is very important for all of us here and yourselves. The moderator asked us to introduce ourselves. My name is George Odhiambo. I consider myself to be at home. My home is Siaya County, and I'm the Managing Director for National Bank of Kenya. John Okulo is my colleague, because where he serves KCB Bank Kenya Limited, we both are subsidiaries of KCB Group PLC. I would like to pay much attention not to typical banking technicalities, but to focus myself on the topic of improving investment climate in Nyanza. I will make a few remarks, and first of all, I acknowledge how much we are endowed with academia and several highly skilled professionals in this region. To be able to improve the environment for investment, number one, we should then pay attention to converting knowledge into wealth. I visit universities in this region, and I find a lot of research work at the shelf waiting for commercialization. Research grants come and they flow so well, and the grant ends when a journal is published. So there needs to be connection after publication of the journal to convert that knowledge into wealth. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University, where I visited last, and I spoke to professors Agreduo and Dennis Ochuodo, they have a proven concept of producing black soldier fly, which unfortunately needs a lot of organic waste to produce proteins for chicken feed and animal feed. So I've asked for investors in that region who want to invest in that opportunity to produce for the fish farmers. We can have a conversation how the bank can fund that to start. And that is part of the contribution as a bank that I want to make. Secondly, I would also want to acknowledge what the work we are doing for taking our children to school. Where I sit, I get no less than 10 young people visiting me every week, or calling me or reaching me on whatever means they need jobs. And it's important to say that not all of them can get jobs in a bank where I work. A few would get, it will not change much. If you get a job in National Bank and you're posted in Kitui and you're a starter, I can guarantee that 99% of your income will spend in Kitui County. If you come to start a business in this region, you possibly employ 2-3 people who earn and spend around this area. And when I start a good conversation in terms of what they come to ask me for, we want to start a business. Which kind of business? You want to do agriculture. Why do you want to do agriculture? Because I failed to get a job. And I tell them agriculture is not for people who have failed to get jobs. And that conversation ends very painfully. So I'm encouraging all of us, let's talk to our young people how important it is to put your mind into what you want to do. Because if you fund your agriculture business and you get a job mid-season, it means you'll not wait for harvest. So we enter into a coaching conversation with them. A few of them are entering into producing things that require banking and financial support, and they've learned that you can be in a sector without being the final producer of milk, and you can be in cattle rearing by producing food, by producing something in that chain. And the banks are willing to listen to those conversations for the young, bright people who come to us. The third thing I want to mention, because time is short, is the issue of supporting our women and youth in terms of businesses that are sustainable, significant enough to offer employment, so that we keep so many people producing for the region and for the county, is ownership of property. Property ownership in urban centers is still very rudimentary. He's just pointing, this belongs to so-and-so, but there's no title to ownership. So it can't be used in the bank. It can't be used in the bank. A young man from Migori County came to my office last year, May. That is now 9 months. He got a contract to build 4 markets. State Department of Housing gave him a contract to build 4 markets. And the collateral required had to go through successions of ownership until it reaches him so the bank can charge it. It took him 7 months to reach that point. If it was already in his name or someone who could charge it to the bank, it was a 30, 60 days affair for us to be able to support him. So at that rate, it's very difficult to support young people if ownership of property is not updated. And the most difficult part of it for the young people is cost of survey. I beseech the governors of this region, make it simple through your legislation, through your county assemblies, that survey can be subsidized for these families with bright people who want to start business. Survey is the most difficult part of ownership succession for these young people. And if that can be done, it will make it easier for banks to get involved into how to improve the investment environment for this region. I've talked about 3 things: commercialization of knowledge, ownership, and also young people understanding why they want to do what they want to do. Many times that they approach banks. There are issues that we've not touched, and there are real issues in these communities, in Western and in Nyanza, cultural. People with good ideas who can place investments like Ciala Resort would choose to do them elsewhere because of things they had from their grandparents. Witchcraft is not something that should be a subject. I've talked to young people who choose to go and invest other places, things that they can do here with ease because the raw materials are here. If you stand at the roadside in Isibania, trucks are lining up with maize, and those maize grains are going to pass through Kisii County and several counties, and they stop at Kerogoya in Mwea, Spencer Millers. If at all we could think of how the raw material enters Migori, but leaves Migori County as maize flour, or at worst leave Kisii or Nyamira with value addition. If groundnuts are passing through Busia and they end up being converted elsewhere, and I know it's an investment that is not something will be attractive at the start, but those are the decisions we must make in legislating in our county assemblies. There are certain raw materials that need to leave our boundaries with value addition, even if it's packaging. Add 2% of the value by just packaging it, possibly that it might work. I walked around this compound, it's my first time here, and the affordable housing conversation was going on. And I was thinking about the story I had recently where people are complaining about someone is in it because of selling cement, selling steel, selling all the things. But I see the hilly sides of these mountains here and I see ballast. I don't see stones, I see ballast. Investment in stone crushing machines will provide employment for these youth where we are sitting to provide the basis of those constructions. ECDs, schools, affordable housing, clinics, everything built. Building houses in this region, we go as far as building stones from Juja in Vika. You know, it is absurd that we do that. It's absurd that we do that. And lastly, as I close, because time is short, make it easier for investors to enter into this economy. Make it easier. Make licensing, regulation, things that are requirement, easier for people to enter into this economy. It's very difficult for people to apply for licenses that take years for them to be able to enter into an economy or a sector in this region. If you choose to spare time and study what it takes for you to mine soapstone in Nyamira or Kisii and then export it, if you are not having some resilience, you'll give up. You need a license as artisanal miner for a site. You need royalty payment. You need cess for transporting it. You need a buyer who is licensed, and the license expires every year and is expensive. And you also need clearance at the port, wherever it's going to pass through. And all that makes it very difficult to enter into a sector that looks less complicated from the outside. It looks very less complicated, but it's very difficult. Because I'm rushing, host governor, I've gotten time again to then talk about what I discussed with you when we were launching MV Uhuru 2, a boat that National Bank of Kenya funded Kenya Shipyard to build. When His Excellency the President was entering to the maiden voyage of the boat, it went 5 kilometers around and came and docked. How I wished it just took off with goods to Nyanza and never came back that same day. So next time we launch one, I would like to support people who want to export. Thank you so much and have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you very much, the convener. I want to, first of all, say thank you, my host, Governor, the patron, and the former governors that are seated behind, and all other participants. I think this conference wouldn't have come at a better time. And why do I say that from an economic point of view? Let me give you some few highlights on Nyanza. The population of Nyanza is roughly estimated, depending on which source you're using, at about 6 million. The active economic population, that is 16 to 64, is about 4 million. We are talking about 67% of that population as being active. But those that are above 65 are a paltry 1%, which means the other percentage are those that are below 16. Now, what does this portend? This portends a very high workforce, active, educated, young. Because of this 16 to 64, we are saying that about 70% are below 35. Nyanza is endowed with what we refer to as a youth bulge. If not taken care of, engaged economically in active economic activities, it is a ticking time bomb. They're armed with youth, they're armed with education, they're armed with skills. Let's turn the picture around. If we give this young group the opportunity to work, you can imagine the productivity that they will generate for this economy. Poverty in this region is 37%. But yes, this region is endowed with virtually all the resources. In fact, there is a joke that you don't throw stones in Nyanza because you're likely to hit a professor, and here we have Professor Nyong'o, or you are likely to hit a university don. And it takes time to train them. But what have we used them for? My colleagues have talked about turning this into a growth catalyst. Taking the youth bulge, juxtaposing it on the resources that are available along the Nyanza belt. And I don't want to repeat those resources because I'll bore you to death. They've been said since morning. I think Nyanza is the place to be, if you asked me. Why? Because we have a demographic dividend. These are people who are creating waves and waves in China, in Japan, and in the developed world. Why China is overtaking the world is because of the skill set. These people here have the skill set. If you're looking for a mason, if you're looking for any skill, I'm not talking about the academics that I've talked about, but I'm talking about the skill set that are useful for production, or productivity growth. They are here. The mechanics, the metal fabricators, and you can name it, the shipbuilders, they're all here. You go anywhere else in the country, you find them. You go anywhere else in the world, I'm sure that you'll get somebody from Nyanza who stands out there. But the question is, why aren't they investing here? That is the big question that we need to be addressing. And it is good that the governors are here. The rest probably have left. But I think, what do we do in our counties to ensure that we tap into this youth bulge so that we can spur this region to economic growth? I want to pick up from what the PS talked about, the trade. And I think trade is my pet subject. But I'm looking at trade from a slightly bigger perspective. And this is the African Continental Free Trade Area. And I want to put it to you this evening that Nyanza lies squarely on the east-west trade corridor. Talked about Mombasa, the northern transport corridor. We're talking about Lake Victoria, into the Great Lakes region, onto the West African ports, and therefore you're linking the east, the far east, to the far west. But Nyanza is somewhere here in the middle. And so what is it that we can do? And thanks to the government of the Republic of Kenya, in that they have seen it fit to invest heavily in transport infrastructure. In fact, the road infrastructure investment since 2013 is about 100 billion. Depending on which figures and which sources, it could vary. But if now, sitting here, I've heard about the airports, I've heard about the feeder roads, I've heard about the piers that feed into the port of Kisumu, the investors have everything else, the low-lying fruits to pick in Nyanza, because this is where everything else is there for your picking. The resources are there, the human capital is there, the infrastructure converges here, the SGR, the Trans-African Highway, and all this thing is linking up us up to the 1.5 billion market in Africa. And so the SDG, the Agenda 2063, the bottom-up economic model, which basically is talking about transforming the economy from the peasant and the subsistence economy into the market-driven economy. What else are we looking for? What else are investors waiting for? Because everything else is here. It's just a matter of the transformative action of the counties to enable these investors to put their mouth where the money is. I would have said a little more, but because of time, I would want just to give you some basic statistics on the foreign direct investment flows over the last comparative period, 2020 and 2022. Kenya's foreign direct investment has grown by 759 billion US dollars. Million US dollars. Now that is massive. How much of it has come to this region? We need the researchers to tell us how much. Being one of them, I'm hoping that there will be data available to be able to buttress that argument. But my major take-home is that Nyanza is the low-hanging fruit for any investor, because everything else is in place. It's just yours for the taking. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And this must be Dr. Oyeke. Yes. As Shem comes up to take his 5 minutes, please prepare. I'm going to give about 5 minutes for questions that you may have. So they must be brief. Honorable Chanzu, if he's here, they must be brief and straight to the point. Better still, if you're asking somebody specific a question, please say, my question is to person X or person Y. If it's just a comment, brief, so that we can get some feedback from the delegates, and then we give our panelists to close. Shem is from the Commonwealth Foundation, which I believe is part of the Secretariat, right? It's not. Introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Khan. Excellency, the host governor, the patron, Elido Walo, the former governors, the organizing committee led by Jaff, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's usually difficult to be the last speaker after everyone has done an excellent job. And when the moderator is over your head with a big hammer. But taking from where Dr. Yeke left, what is it that we need to do? It's a challenge to the counties. My name is Shem Ochola. I work for the Commonwealth Foundation. I serve as the Deputy Director General. It's a sister agency to the Commonwealth Secretariat, which is an intergovernmental body serving 56 countries in the Commonwealth. Prof, we spoke about this about 3 years ago. But I'm here now as a member of the diaspora. And therefore, I had a presentation, but I will not stick to it. I want to pick bits and pieces. So mine is basically a reflection coming from this region, near Con, because we have a home around here, about less than 7 minutes walk from here. So I grew up here, around here. And this hill was very green when we were growing up. Right now it's bare, something that we need to do maybe as a county. We did a study last year, 2024, that was by the Commonwealth Secretariat, charting a course for diaspora investment in Kenya. Kenyans living abroad, living and working abroad sent a record 640 billion Kenya shillings. The year ended December 2024. That marked 18% growth. That shattered the Central Bank of Kenya estimates. The total remittances received, I think, has been the highest in history. And I want to speak about that briefly and relate it to the investment opportunities here, and ask the question that despite the challenges that are there, do we see opportunity for your children, your relatives that are abroad? How do we tap this money? I've talked about the national figure, because I didn't break that down to what comes to Nyanza as a region. So some of my key reflections, so I'll basically jump from one point to the other, is the need for us to map out key priorities for investments and consolidate them into a blueprint. I know there are pieces, bits and pieces. If you look at what the counties have, the CIDPs, at the national level, the Care Invest, they have all this. But can we map the opportunities for the region, package it properly, and then when you engage the investors here at home and also abroad, then you have something to give them and negotiate with them. And this could be in areas like the food security, affordable housing that we've been speaking about, manufacturing, and healthcare. Another reflection, countries like Israel, India, Rwanda, Nigeria have got very strong diaspora, and they've issued diaspora bonds that attracted a lot of money. That was at the national level. In terms of engagement between the county and the national government, and here I'm looking at Article 6 of the Constitution, that says that it underscores the interdependence of national and county governments, and emphasizes consultation and cooperation between the two levels of government. I see an opportunity there for both the counties, especially the Nyanza counties, to work with the national government to ensure that these opportunities are leveraged. Another reflection, again, when I was looking at this, and when I spoke with Jeff 2 years ago about this work, the Nyanza investment initiative is a very strong step forward. But broader benefits, I believe, could be realized by integrating efforts within the LREB. That means expanding the scope that would unlock the potential much larger, basically reaping from the economies of scale. And again, the other thing is that LREB have got those institutions that could help drive this. So again, that was my reflection. That is something that, because Dr. Yeke spoke about, actioning this. So I'm basically picking bits and pieces and not using my presentation as originally planned. My second last one, before Con chases me away, is addressing the political economy and citizen engagement. That's a reality that we need to give serious attention to. The political economy of the region. Citizen involvement, and I'm talking about meaningful citizen involvement in what you're designing. An example, I was speaking to my friend who's the CEO of KTD Foundation, and I usually host them when they come to London, where I'm based. And he gave me an example of investment where the investors in tea industry brought in machines. And they brought those for efficiency purposes. But that was going to, each one as an investment, a good thing for the investor, but a bad thing for the local people, the tea pickers. So, and I'm aware that you heard about the challenge. So the tea pickers refused. They resisted the introduction of the machines because they're going to be rendered jobless. That's one of the things about citizen engagement and the political economy of investment. The last point, lessons from existing investment challenges. But before we go to the lessons of existing investment challenges, I was reflecting about the special economic zones, and perhaps what do we learn from them? Have there been challenges? Have we done some sort of analysis about the challenges and how to address them? And perhaps now that is something that going forward we need to use that so that as we work on this major program, we don't repeat the mistakes that we've discovered there. So I think let me stop there. I'll be happy to engage. And to thank you again for sitting for this long. And to Professor again, thank you for being here. Jeff, thank you for the work that you've done. And the diaspora thing, I think is something that we need to take seriously, because we are thinking of having roundtables, not just here, but also in the diaspora. Because there's an opportunity which I've seen about the people from here. Can we package something for them? For example, your children in diaspora who are in the healthcare, and interest them on a project, maybe setting up a health facility here, and let them fund it. That's one thing. It's being done in other countries. The second one, academic institutions. There were a number of them here. And I saw one of the investment funds, it was about 5 million. And I've sat in meetings where we evaluate proposals going to academic institutions, and you award monies as high as $15 million to academic institutions. we see opportunities between our academic institutions collaborating with the institutions in the West as sort of part of investment. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to engage. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's appreciate the speakers. They've tried under real constraint of time, and now I'm going to be really under pressure also to complete this session. Where the roving microphones, I won't have time to summarize this conversation, so I want to throw it to the audience. Let me see by a show of hands those who want to ask questions. Okay. Okay, where are the mics? Where are the mics? Where are the mics? Where are the mics? Your Excellencies, you'll give me, Prof, I'll probably want you to maybe close it before we close, if you don't mind. I want to start with the ladies, because I have a Manel here. Ladies are in the house? Where are you? Let me start with the ladies. Gentlemen, forgive me. Sure. Start with the ladies. Right here at the front. One, and if you take more than a minute, I switch off your mic. More than a minute, I switch off your mic. Straight to the point. If you want to ask someone, say it. If not, comment. 1 minute.
Right. Thank you very much, Con, and to the panelists as well. My name is Irene Mayaka, nominated MP from Nyamira County. For me, I just want to bring in the legislative angle to all this, because investment is very important, but if we do not have laws that are enablers to our investors, then we're not helping them. Towards the end of last year, the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Amendment Act was assented to. And some of the things that this act really emphasizes on is, number one, within the county, that first priority for goods and services is given to local producers and to the country as well. And also very important, that any investment that is below 1 billion is given to the local farms. What I'm trying to say is this. This is a 44-page act, but very few people are yet to know what it has. But what it contains, it's an actual enabler for investors to be able to know that you're able to invest within your space before you go outside. So for me, the rallying call in this case should be buy Nyanza, build Nyanza, before we think about buy Kenya, build Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irene. That's a good comment. Right behind her, the two ladies. Quick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Belmi Kipruto, founder of Ustawi Organic Farms, where we convert organic waste into biochar. My question goes to George Odhiambo. Heard you mentioning BSF, and we are actually doing BSF. Do we have working formulas in the banking sector where you can invest in an idea and come in as an equity partner? Because for us young people, we don't have collateral to give to banks, and that's why we tend to shy away. So can you invest in my innovative idea, and then in turn, I give you shares in my company for me to scale up the BSFL production that we are already doing here in Kisumu? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, as you ask, Alfred, please,
a
response to the legislative side and how you work with counties. Because
can I take that?
Not here. He used to do IGR. Yes, George. Not yet. We're still taking questions, and then you'll have your round. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Kalpana Karia, and my question and my comment is from Dr. Matori from the President's office, that about children. Yes, when he spoke about children, which was very, very touchy, because we have been, I think our Honorable Governor also knows about this. We have been working with children for many, many years in Kisumu district and all that, but how can we join hands together, because we've been running orphanages, have been having many feeding programs as well. So we would love to work together to bring the children, because children always touches our heart, and we have always been helping the children. Thank you, underprivileged children.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
PS Mutari, that's yours. Where the hands? Now I can even give some men. All right, let's go to the back. Is there a mic on this side?
Thank you. Good afternoon. All protocols observed. This is for Dr. Shem Ochola. Thank you so much about the diaspora. Kindly include me in the round table. I receive requests from diaspora Johannesburg. Paris, and then also the United States for import and export. And then for George Odhiambo, National Bank of Kenya, and also KCB. Last week, I had a team of agents who got a contract to export avocado worth 40 tons to Johannesburg. The challenge they had was finances. So we did the first 14 tons, and then they had to look for finances to do the rest of the tonnages. So those are opportunities. I will look for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Lois Mbewa, Kenya Airways Cargo.
Thank you very much. The gentleman next to you, I think, has a question.
Thank you, Con. We are talking about setting a conducive environment. Three things. There are people out there who are trying to invest, and these are local people in counties. But they are complaining about the tax brigade, the county government tax terrorists, as they call them, who would not see you even set up a nursery school, a kindergarten, before they come to want to collect tax. Before that business blossoms, instead of having incentives, you would find that a lot of initiatives are frustrated, number one. Number two, every community, every region that has ever transformed economically has had good leadership, visionary leadership. This is a challenge to our leaders that we need to set up a conducive environment. They need to also come to the front. Lastly, Mukiza Kitui recently challenged us, we people of Siaya. My name is Joseph Kwaka from Siaya. Mukiza Kitui recently challenged us. We are trying to invite foreign investors. But what would foreign investors think if they consult a man called Calvin Burgess, the founder of Dominion Farms, how he was treated by the leaders of this region, and then he had to take off? So when we are talking about conducive environment, we must be serious as leaders that we are community-centered in our thinking, and we are showing that we have a vision and we have good intention for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, my senior, Kwaka. Let's come on this side. I'm about to close the round with Professor, our host. I see one hand there. I see one hand there, but Ambassador, go, and then we'll come on this side. Ambassador, 1 minute. You're my senior.
I'll take 1 minute. Thank you. My name is Wade, Ambassador Wade. I have a question for the PS for Social Protection. Talked very animatedly about the program for the vulnerable, the old. But I recently served as the county attorney of Siaya, and I lived in the village up to a few months back. Many, many women in the village would come to me virtually every day. They are not in this program. Is it a token program, or is it really, how comprehensive is it? Because I think it's a program that was started by the previous government, but I don't know to what extent it has, what is the scope and what is the intention to expand it. The gentleman who talked about the youth, I think Dr. Yeke, called it a time bomb. I think that time bomb is with us now. Entering even this place this morning was a challenge, because there are people out here who are stopping vehicles. They want to be gonyoed, to be removed, to be released.
To be released.
The word is to be released. So you wonder who tied them. And I think this is a culture that our politicians are promoting. What policy do we have to deal with them? They don't want. We have been talking about agriculture. They don't even want to work in the farms. So this is a bomb which is exploding right now. And what are the policies we have to address it? Finally, on infrastructure, I get the impression, I come from Rarieda. A lot of roads were done in Rarieda during the, what did you call it, the Barwabar government, during the Nusumkati government. Those roads are not maintained now. I'm told Kera is starved of funding. And a lot of roads that were built are now completely gone. I saw recently a program to restructure, to merge Kera with Kura, I don't know to what extent this will address. So there are a lot of orphan roads in this region. Potholes are coming back in the region. So I don't know how we are addressing this. Finally, I'm also an author. I've just published a book, Between Law and Diplomacy, that talks about my experiences in diplomatic service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. I'll take the last one, and then I'll give Professor to close. No more questions. There's a last question there. And then, Prof, you've heard all those questions. You can marry some into yours as host governor, and many things have been said. I'll give you a chance to close, and then we'll come to the panelists. Naikwe, 1 minute, my friend.
My name is Felix Simiyu from Kenya Seed Company. The lady from Kenya Airways just mentioned that she receives a lot of calls from agents who want to export avocado and farm produce to out of this place. I work with farmers closely, and I want to say that the people who benefit in the value chain are not the farmers. It is the agents and middlemen who come from far and come pick the produce from here, and they benefit massively. The farmer down there has no idea about the market in Europe. What policies are we going to put in place from this forum to protect the low people in the Rada who are doing the donkey work so that they can be the immediate beneficiaries of what they are doing? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Professor, close it for us. Do you want to come in front, or you want to do it from there?
Yeah, I think I want to face these people.
All right.
So that
you guys prepare for a lecture.
we can be afar.
When Professor does this, we are being luerod.
It's not going to be a lecture. It's going to be a closing.
Use that. I think it's a good mic.
Thank you very much, fellow conferees. I must thank you for staying the course and participating in this very important conference, investment conference up to this time. And I want to thank all the participants and the speakers for very candid conversations we have had today, particularly this afternoon, this evening when I got back. Trouble is that when a thing like this is held in your county, you have two functions. One, to welcome visitors. Two, to attend the conference. So you'll find that some people are coming here requested for courtesy calls in the office for specific reasons. So it took my time in the morning, and tomorrow I think it may be better. Now, I just want to say that the panel has done really well, but there are certain issues that have been raised that I think require some comment. One is the constitutional provision that there are 48 governments in the Republic of Kenya, one national, 47 counties, separate but interdependent. And this is quite often misunderstood when we are dividing functions between the national government and the 47 counties. That sometimes there's a principle that resources should follow functions. And although the Constitution recognizes functions of counties and functions of the national government, resources do not necessarily follow functions when the budgets are read in Parliament and the Treasury begins implementing them and other government agencies. If counties are going to play the role they were meant to play in the Constitution and in development, I think this conference should come out with a clear stand and a firm affirmation that counties were created so that development can come from below. That was the essence of the second liberation. And if it's not realized now, it may be too late to realize it later, because we'll have lost very good opportunities to lay a firm foundation. Secondly, I want to just comment a little on what my friend John Olagalwach, Jasoda Wangeler, that is his other name, about NGCDF. Look, I was in Parliament when CDF was created. It was created in a very specific context. The context that MPs felt, quite rightly, that their constituencies were not being financed effectively for development, and therefore made a case that a fund should be established for MPs to be engaged, not just in legislative work, but also in development. That was a historical move in this country, which was very important.
However, with devolution, the question changes. And this is why the change of the name from CDF to NGCDF is, to me, really opportunistic. Because we should have come to terms to the fact that we now have 48 governments in Kenya, 47 counties, and 1 national, separate but independent, with very specific functions in the Constitution. And the Constitution should override everything else. And I think that this ukarabati we are doing with things to suit political circumstances really waste resources in our nation. And therefore, I'm sorry, Nathia Lodge, I think that this NGCDFF was a very unfortunate move. And I think it should be reviewed honestly and transparently. And I think there must be another way by which MPs can engage in local development, but not resurrect an institution which I think its time has gone. One thing was also mentioned, which I think is important to comment on, converting knowledge into wealth. A very important statement made by this panel today. Now, in universities all over the world, there are usually institutions created within the university which interact between university and society. At the University of Nairobi, the Institute for Development Studies, IDS, was created specifically because of this. I think what this panel should encourage all other universities to do is create institutions which encourage knowledge to be created into wealth. The role of IDSs is that they should be interacted with the people, have people from ordinary society spending time as fellows at the IDS, going back with some knowledge acquired, bringing raw material from the ground for researchers to research into. Therefore, there's an organic connection between universities and people to make it possible for knowledge to be transferred into wealth. There must be an institutional mechanism, deliberate one, to make this call here a reality. Now, finally, somebody made a comment here, which I think is very dangerous. I don't know who it was, that we should teach skills to our people to crush those stones on the hill for purposes of construction. That is going to be an environmental disaster. As a governor, I am opposed to these stones which were put there by nature being turned into kokoto for building. I think we should have another technology for building which exists in other sides. If you go to the US, you'll find that most buildings, residential buildings, are made of wood. I must tell you. There are no stones, mainly wood. And if you go to other societies, you'll find that construction material is very, stone is very limited for residential places. And I think that bricks can be the best substitute for stones, especially if you improve the technology and raw material use for making bricks. Now, when I was growing up, and I think I'm grown up now, and my father was building a new house for ourselves, he used bricks. And we made the bricks there with the artisan who knew how to make it. And that house that my father built and my mother still stands up to this very day. So forget about stones as the durable thing for construction. Bricks are. And bricks are much more environmental friendly than stones. Like if we crush those stones, there's going to be an environmental disaster. And I'm opposed to quarrying myself. The only thing is that in counties we don't have a law to stop people from quarrying and crushing stones and so on, because I think it's just an environmental disaster. So I think we should really think as scholars and policymakers to encourage this nation from going the stone way. You can even go to Dandora. If you fly over Dandora, I think, and you see the canyons and caves and whatnot, some of which have been used recently for throwing bodies, because stones are mined from there. They are mined, there's no reclaim of the soil. It also happens here in our county. Once they dig into the ground, they leave it open, so that when the rain falls, there's water there, attracts some people to kill people and throw them there, and if children are playing, they're also down there. I think this idea of mining the earth to get stones for building is something that we should begin, because I think there's a science by which we can make bricks even out of paper, even out of leaves. This is why we are here thinkers, to transform knowledge into development. And if we don't transform it, we still conform to what is environmental disasters. I don't think we shall be doing our duty as people who are educated to make change possible and preserve the environment. Finally, about these people who are bothering you here, they're usually called, in Marxist political economy, the lumpen proletariat. The lumpen proletariat will appear in any developing society, particularly the developing ones or the underdeveloped ones, where to get employment for these people is very difficult, but they will be there, the lumpen proletariat. They harass us a lot, and the answer really is not what we politicians do, to give them, to satisfy their immediate needs by giving them 5 shillings and so on. That just perpetuates the problem, I think. I think what we need to do, again, is to find out the best way to deal with the lumpen proletariat. There are a typical feature of a struggling, underdeveloped society, struggling to develop, because not everybody will be engaged in production. You'll go up to standard 8, you know some English, you can write, you can tell stories, but you have no interest or skill to work. I think the TVETs are now trying to do that, and we work very hard in the counties to build TVETs. And I hope that we will try and incorporate the lumpen proletariat in some practical business through TVETs, extend it to the lumpen so that they can be observed into useful work and not harass you as you live here and harass me as I live here on a daily basis. Thank you very much for giving us a good panel this afternoon or this evening. I now declare this discussion closed until tomorrow morning. You can tell us when we meet tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much. Lumpent. It was lumpent.
Lumpen.
Lumpen.
Museveni uses that.
Proletariat. Na mtapatana nao hapa nje, especially if your car is big. Prof should have come right at the end, because I know we had a few responses to get from the panel. Can we give the panel 5 minutes and then we close? Patron?
Maybe we do it on the floor.
Overall moderator?
Maybe we can socialize on the floor.
Yes. Socialize on the floor with it.
Yes, like mine too, I'll talk to her and talk to him, and then let's not have any other person talking.
Okay, so the panelists...
I'll talk after the governor.
Or at least most of them are...
Yes,
you want to respond?
Closed now, protocol. He has even gone.
Okay. Some panelists are saying they're going to interact with you.
We'll interact.
As you leave, especially PS Kombudo, and I mean the two PSAs are keen on that. But I think, Olaga Loch, you want to touch on CDF as we close.
But they are gone.
Then I think maybe the rest, let's just
I think the room is
interact
empty,
and shake hands.
empty.
For the
The room is empty.
The people you're responding to are gone.
Very quickly, my elder brother and my governor friend, Honorable Nyoga, has just left. But I wanted to put something in the right perspective about the NGCDF Act. Up to 2015, the 2.5% that goes to NGCDF annually from the Treasury used to come from the normal collection. In 2015, the Act was declared unconstitutional because that 2.5% was coming before the share of county governments was taken out. So the Act was amended so that as we speak, 2.5% that come to CDF board is from the national government's share of revenue from the Treasury. So it's nothing to do with the counties. But however, what's happened, this could take a long time, and I want to shorten it. What we have is competition on the ground between members of parliament and governors. That should not be the case. If we know what our role is, then our role should be complementary, not competitive. And I always take the view that the competition that happens in the counties between governors and members of parliament is not healthy at all. I've been a member of parliament, I understand. But there are ways of eliminating that competition so that we all complement each other. It is possible, it can be done. Thank you.
Let's appreciate the panel. And please, the panelists have pledged that they are here to chat with you about the questions and comments that you had. Panelists, let us parade for our photo session here as I invite Laban Cliff to close. Where's the official camera? Okay.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here up until 10 minutes to 7. This marks the end of our day one of the Nyanza International Investment Conference. Let me call on stage Dr. Edwin Gore. Please give yourselves a round of applause for making it this far. We will, before I invite Dr. Edwin Gore to just close with a word of prayer, ladies and gentlemen, just as our conference patron announced, tomorrow we shall be gathering here at 8 a.m. for the direction as we anticipate the arrival of our chief guest. So let's all be here at 8 a.m. I know I'm speaking also to the exhibitors as well, and those who are still outside and they can hear me. We have a speaker out there. So please, let's be at the main plenary at 8 a.m. for the start of day 2, which will also be our official opening ceremony of our Nyanza International Conference. For now, let's all please be upstanding for the closing remarks. Panelists, let's all be at attention. Let's all please be upstanding for the closing remarks and prayers.
Shall we all stand for prayers, please? Let us pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Father, we want to thank you most sincerely this evening for this conference. We thank you for all that has taken place here since morning, O Lord. We thank you for all the participants. We thank you for all the delegates. We thank you for all our governors who have been here, O Father. We thank you for the patron of this conference, O Lord. We thank you for the committee of this conference. Indeed, you are a wonderful Savior. We are just adjourning after this long, long day, a day that you have made. Even as we depart, oh Father, I pray that may you give us journey mercies. May thy mercies go with us to our hotels and our places of residence until tomorrow morning when we shall be having the second day for this conference, oh Lord. I say, I pray in the name of Jesus, the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Ri. Ladies and gentlemen, see you tomorrow, 8 a.m.
City, Kenya's lakeside gem, a hub of vibrant history, culture, and promising horizons. From its foundation to its city status, Kisumu tells a story of resilience, transformation, and opportunity. In the late 19th century, as Kisumu emerged as a vital railway terminus and trade center by the shores of Lake Victoria. Originally a small port town, Kisumu's strategic position at the lake head shaped its early prosperity and established it as a cornerstone of commerce in the western region. Under the leadership of Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, Kisumu is undergoing transformative development.